For the New York Mets, it'll be Pete Harnisch, a hard-throwing right-hander who's had a lot of success in the National League. On the mound for the Cardinals,
Donovan Osborne, and he missed the entire season. He's had arm trouble. As a matter of fact, Pete had some problems last year. And Osborne, I was talking to Bob Gibson, who is with the St. Louis Cardinals, a Hall of Famer, and he said he's throwing very, very well. But the Mets have not seen him because he did not play last year.
And the one thing you can say about the Mets in the first 3 games, as I mentioned, they've lost 2, won 1 ball game. It's been some exciting baseball. To be nerve-wracking for Dallas Green, though.
Has to be nerve-wracking. The Mets pitching has not held up at all, but the hitting certainly has come through at the right time. The Mets could have won all 3 ball games. They blew the first 2 with blown saves in both ball games as they went into the final inning with a lead. And last night they went into the final inning with a 2-run lead and held on and won it.
And Todd Hundley with a big hit in last night's game.
Todd Hundley got the big hit that drove in what proved to be the winning runs in the ball game. Outstanding ball game last night. They've all been extremely exciting, so it's baseball here today, and a nice day, as a matter of fact.
Absolutely beautiful day for a ball game. It's going to cost, if you're thinking about coming out to the ballpark, bring $1, because it'll cost you $1 to get into Shea Stadium this afternoon. And we should have a good ball game if it's anything like the first 3 games the Mets have played this season. Stay with us. When we come back to Shea Stadium, we'll give you the starting lineups.
Mets Baseball is brought to you by Nobody Beats the Wiz. For state-of-the-art home electronics, computers, cameras, music, movies, and more, Nobody Beats the Wiz. By your Tri-State Jeep and Eagle dealer. And by Network MCI Business. Install it in your office today.
3 minutes to go until first pitch at Shea Stadium. It is a beautiful day for baseball. The Mets and the St. Louis Cardinals. Let's get you back out to Shea Stadium with the starting lineups for today's game. Here's Rusty Staub and Fran Healy, guys.
All right, Bob. Looking live at Shea Stadium here in Flushing, New York. The Cardinals and the Mets, the second game of this 3-game series. We mentioned the pitching matchup. Pete Harnisch, Fordham University right-hander, will be on the mound for the New York Mets. There's Pete, and he'll be opposed by Donovan Osborne. So Pete Harnisch against Donovan Osborne. And with that in mind, we'll check out the batting order for the St. Louis Cardinals, brought to you by your Tri-State Ford dealers. Bernard Gilkey leads it off. He's in right field. Trip Cromer was a 3rd-round draft pick back in 1989 for the Cardinals. He's batting number 2. Ozzie Smith given the afternoon off. Ray Lankford will follow Cromer. The middle 3, Gerald Perry, Scott Cooper, who was 2-time All-Star in the American League the last 2 years with the Boston Red Sox, playing 3rd base, batting number 5. John Mabry in right field, batting 6. The bottom 3, Tom Pagnozzi, Jose Akendo, and then Donovan Osborne.
And the pitching stats of Pete Harnisch are brought to you by Starter. Pete, his first appearance for the New York Mets. He has a lifetime record of 61 wins, 55 losses. In 1994 for Houston, he was in 17 games. He had a record of 8-5, but a very high ERA. 95 innings, 100 hits, and 62 strikeouts. Pete Harnisch on the mound.
And the defense for the New York Mets, brought to you by United States Postal Service. Bronya, Kent, Vizcaino, and Bonilla in the infield. Left to right in the outfield, Segui, Butler, and Everett. Hundley, who had a big hit in last night's ball game behind the plate for the New York Mets. The umpires in this afternoon's game, Cy Ryberg behind the plate, Frank Bolina at first base, and Vance Harris at second base, and Rich Humphrey over at third base. Talked about the umpires, replacement umpires. How it's difficult for the players to adjust, but they have to adjust to the umpire. And speaking of umpires, I mentioned earlier, after the initial series, the opening series in Toronto, the Canadian government will stop replacement umpires from officiating those games up there. So probably the first time in the history of baseball, Ralph, major league players will have to use the honor system. That'll be a classic, won't it?
Well, there is an out. If the umpires turn down a 10% raise offered to them by the National and the American League, then they can go back and use replacement umpires. And the umpires are looking for a 40% raise, so I think they'll turn down an offer of a 10% raise.
You're looking at home plate umpire Cy Ryberg, or you were looking at him, as Pete Harnish continues his warm-up tosses.
We saw a lot of Cy in the Florida games, and he did a good job down there. One of the things that has been noticeable, although I don't know if it's a trend or not, the umpires that are umpiring, the replacement umpires, have a larger strike zone than the regular umpires that umpire the National and the American League games. Technically, that's to speed up the game, but the games have been extremely long. Of course, the Mets played 14 innings the first game of the season against Colorado and lost. That game was 4 hours and 47 minutes long.
I think they should stay by the rule book. There's a strike zone. They should stay with the strike zone. I don't think it's a thing where the players have to know the umpire's strike zone. There's a strike zone according to the rule book. There's Bobby Bonilla. He was tossed in Colorado.
He and Dallas Green throwing out, and that was on a half swing or a check swing strike call, and Bobby wanted the umpire behind home plate to ask the first base umpire, which the home plate umpire did not do.
Well, the home plate umpire just called the ball, and Bernard Gilkey.
And that pitch.
Playing right field. It's 1-1 now on Gilkey.
First strike thrown by Pete Harnish as a Met.
Mentioned Pete Harnish, Fordham University. 1-1 pitch inside to Gilkey.
Gilkey, a good night last night, 3 for 5, had singles his first 3 times up.
Got an RBI, scored 2 runs. Some good outfielders on this ball club. I think they traded away a pretty good outfielder as Gilkey fouls the ball out of play. They traded away Witten to get Cooper from third base for the Cardinals. Witten with 4 home runs last year in 1 game against the Cincinnati Reds.
Pretty strong hitter, but not a consistent hitter. I think he might like it in Fenway Park.
They get some thunder in the middle of that lineup at Fenway Park now with Canseco. As Gilkey takes a fastball outside. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Gilkey can run. And the 3-2 pitch. Fouled back. Pretty good pitch to hit too. Gilkey missing it, but staying alive. Joe Torre, 5 years with the St. Louis Cardinals now.
How about his coaching staff? He's got some good ones. Bob Gibson,
Rich Shandings,
Chris Chambliss.
Lou Brock is an instructor. 3 Hall of Famers on the staff. Still 3-2 on Bernard Gilkey.
Torrey's second in the National League in tenure. He's worked 5 years for the Cardinals.
Good pitch. So Bernard Gilkey missed a good 3-2 pitch to hit. He fouled it back, and then Harnish came back with a good breaking ball for strike 3.
Pretty tough 3-2 pitch right here. If you can do this all the time, you can win. Look at this pitch. Breaking ball right on the outside corner. That's a tough pitch. 3 balls and 2 strikes.
And a batter now, Trip Cromer. Swung on and missed. 0-1. Tripp's name, Roy Bunyan Cromer III. Drafted back in 1989 as a shortstop by the Cardinals. And he swings through the 0-1 fastball, so it's 0-2. How would you like to be a young kid coming out of high school or college and you're drafted by the St. Louis Cardinals? And they get Ozzie Smith as their shortstop, although Ozzie is getting up there, but he can still play that position. Ozzie with the afternoon off. And the 0-2 pitch. Just misses. 1-2.
You wonder what that Bunyan stands for in his name. Paul Bunyan?
I'm assuming it's Paul.
Not the bunion on your foot.
No. 1-2 pitch. He goes the other way, hits the ball hard. Everett in pursuit, unable to glove it. And Cromer hustling to second base, bunions and all, goes in with a double. And the ball gets away, but Bonilla backs up, and Cromer holds his ground at second base.
Well, in the ball game last night, probably the most pivotal play in the game was when Carl Everett caught a ball in right center field and threw to home plate and got Brian Jordan trying to score. That kept the score at 8-6 in favor of the Cardinals and made it possible for the Mets' comeback victory. Everett with an outstanding arm, and right here he throws it in. It gets by the cutoff man, rolls all the way into foul territory.
So Cromer leading off second base. The batter now, Ray Langford. Langford stepping in to face Pete Harnish with one man down here in the first inning. Langford with a nice night last night, 2 for 5. Picked up a run scored and drove in 2.
He had that home run to right field, and it was hit well.
Cutter misses inside. Harnish with a straight fastball, a cutter, slider, curveball, changeup. A lot of pitches.
Gotta have a lot of fingers to call those pitches.
Oh boy.
That cutter is a fastball that actually is.
Acts like the slider.
Yeah, and it's a better than the slider if it's a good one. It doesn't move quite as much. It just cuts over. And you throw it by cutting across the seams of the ball.
I used to catch some old-time pitchers that they didn't have a sign for it. They would do it on their own off a fastball.
Why not?
Yeah, kill the catcher.
I mean, it only moves about 3 or 4 inches.
That's enough. Up high, 2-1. You guys, the outfielders, think catching that ball behind the plate's pretty easy?
Well, look at the big size glove you got.
It is pretty big. I can't believe I missed as many as I did. 2-1 on Langford.
How about the one that Gus Triundas used to use trying to catch Wilhelm's knuckleball?
It was outlawed.
Yeah, it was so big he couldn't lift it.
That's
and
right.
He was strong.
And they put a rule in the book. I believe it's now catcher's glove can be no larger than 38 inches in circumference.
I thought you were going to say in diameter.
No.
I think that glove he used was.
And ground ball, base hit down the right field line. So the Cardinals will take the lead here in the first inning, and Langford heads to second base with a stand-up double.
Well, the pattern a lot like last night. The Cardinals scored a run in the first inning. Langford coming up with a double to drive it in. So Langford now with the run batted in each of the first innings played in this series.
He's got 3 hits already in this series. This is the second game of a 3-game series. The finale tomorrow afternoon here at Shea Stadium. Expecting some beautiful weather, so if you're thinking about coming out to Shea, come on out as you look at Gerald Perry.
And when you come out, you can buy a ticket for $1.
Can't beat that price, can you?
Not bad at all.
0-1 on Perry.
And in the month of May, all the concessions will be half price here at Shea Stadium. Amazing May month. That's with the exception of alcoholic beverages.
Perry pulls the ball to the right side. Gloved by Bronya. Harnish covers. And Langford advanced to third. So 2 men are out here in the first inning.
Another tough play right here as Bronya goes over and on the outfield grass makes the grab, gets it to Harnish covering for the out. So the Cardinals now down to 2 men out and a runner at third.
And Scott Cooper to batter. Takes down low ball 1. Scott Cooper, born and brought up in the St. Louis area. As I mentioned, he was an all-star with the Red Sox 1993 and 1994. Traded away for Witten.
Well, he had a tough night last night, 0 for 4 and a couple of bad plays in the infield.
And he's known for a terrific throwing arm. Fouled the ball back, 1-1. He had arm trouble last year, ended up on the disabled list. Got arthroscopic surgery on that throwing arm. Interesting story. Scott Cooper was the guy the Red Sox tried to trade when they finally ended up trading away Jeff Bagwell. Bob Watson, general manager of Houston, said no. Scott Cooper's a good player. We don't want him. We want this kid in the minor leagues, Jeff Bagwell, and the rest is history.
One of the best hitters in the game.
1-2 pitch. Cooper fouls it back. Cooper has to be very excited about playing in his hometown. He was an all-state schoolboy baseball player in Missouri. One good thing about Fenway Park, where he played the past few years, is the background. There's a terrific background when you're hitting. 1-2 pitch. There's a nasty pitch right there from Pete Harnish. That'll do it for the Cardinals here in the first. They pick up one, they strand one. We played a half inning. It's 1-0 St. Louis. Back here at Shea Stadium on a nice afternoon for a ball game. Keep in mind tomorrow, if you're thinking about coming out to Shea, $1 will get you in through the turnstiles. Cardinals and the Mets, third game of this three-game series. Now a look at the Mets batting order, brought to you by your Tri-State Jeep dealers. Brett Butler, Jose Vizcaino, and then Jeff Kent, the first three. The middle three, Bobby Bonilla, Carl Everett, and Rico Brogna. Bottom three, David Segui, Todd Hundley, and Pete Harnish.
And on the mound, the pitching stats are brought to you by Starter. It is Donovan Osborne, 0-0 last year, did not play, 21-16 lifetime.
And Brett Butler will lead it off for the Mets. Butler 1 for 4 in last night's game. He takes a fastball for a strike.
1 for 4, but he also picked up a walk. So he was on base twice. He has done his job. He's been on base 10 times in his 16 at-bats.
Well, he's a delight to watch. Up high, 1-1. We've seen him, of course, from afar in the past, a few times a year with different teams.
You know what's amazing is the way he works the pitcher. He makes the pitcher pitch to him. It's not the other way around. Most hitters don't even have an idea what they're trying to do.
He tries to slap it the other way and fouls it off. And you never see him overswing. You know, you'll have guys, we've all played with guys who are leadoff hitters, pretty good leadoff hitters, and all of a sudden they might hit a home run, and then they might overswing a few times. This guy never overswings.
He is really controlled. I watched him batting practice today. It's a pleasure to watch. He just takes that ball and does what he wants to do with the ball.
Well, he chokes up, comfortable at the plate. He takes up high, 2-2. Well, this Met club, obviously, a big change. They got back to respectability last year. I know there's been some concern about Brett's age, but boy, at 37 years old, he's in terrific shape. As you look at Dallas Green, who's very aggressive when he has speed to motivate. And there's strike three. Brett Butler striking out.
Pretty good breaking ball right there, and Butler had an idea about swinging them, pull the trigger, and it was on that outside corner.
And now let's look at the defensive alignments for the game, brought to you by U.S. Postal Service. Here's the Cardinals defense: Perry, Oquendo, Cromer, and Cooper in the infield, Gilkey, Langford, and Mabry in the outfield, Pagnazzi behind the plate. Donovan Osborne throws the breaking ball, misses ball one to Jose Vizcaino, who was 2 for 5 in last night's game. There's a strike, 1-1. What do you think of the St. Louis Cardinals? How about the history to that organization? The great Gas House Gang. You mentioned Gibson, Shandy's Stand Museum. Fouled off.
This guy, you know, with a bunt base hit last night, attempting to do it again. I would think that in the 30s, Gas House Gang, the most popular team in baseball. Of course, they played in the World Series in 1934 against Detroit, beat them in the 7th game of the World Series when Dizzy Dean pitched a shutout against the Tigers.
That team had a personality.
Red Shandy's a great player for the Cardinals in the 40s and 50s.
Sitting next to him on his right, Bob Gibson.
Hall of Famers both.
1-2 pitch on Vizcaino. He takes it for a ball, 2-2.
Bob Gibson, great pitcher right there. That Gas House Gang, some great names. People remember them so well, even to this day. Dizzy Dean, of course, extremely well remembered.
Well, we talk about Pete Harnish, Fordham Flash. What about the Fordham Flash?
Frankie Frisch, the Fordham Flash, the original Fordham Flash. Yeah. Second baseman on that team, a Hall of Famer. Pepper Martin was on that team. Ducky Medwick was on that team.
Down low to Vizcaino, so he takes his base. So the Mets have a runner here in the first inning with one man gone. Speaking of Frankie Frisch, he was a Fordham graduate, the starter in the game today for the Mets. Pete Harnish, a Fordham graduate. There were 2 Fordham graduates who played second base, and both of them became Cardinals.
Eddie Collins was one.
Well, no, it was
Collins came
Frisch
from another college.
and Cardinal Spellman.
Both of them Cardinals?
Both of them Cardinals.
Nice joke.
And Jeff Kent is the batter. So Jeff Kent will face Donovan Osborne. It's 1-0 if you just tuned in to Sports Channel. Kent takes down low. 1-0.
Of course, the Cardinals had a fellow who holds the all-time home run record. You wouldn't even think of him as a Cardinal, but he was a great player for them for a short time.
Johnny Mize?
No, Roger Maris.
That's right, Roger Maris.
Johnny Mize, great player for the Cardinals. Hall of Famer.
Remembered as a Yankee player, I think, more so the Cardinal, as Kent takes down low. 2-0. Tom Pagnazzi going out to talk to Donovan Osborne. Pagnazzi, a leader on his ball club, really was supposed to be a backup catcher to Todd Zeile. He got into the major leagues. The pitchers liked pitching to him. I guess they didn't like pitching to Todd Zeile, so Joe Torre moved Zeile to third base. Pagnazzi goes on to win 3 Gold Gloves.
Won one last year, and he threw out 51% of the runners attempting to steal last year. That's phenomenal.
That's a terrific percentage.
Of course, we left out one of the great Cardinal names, Stan Musial.
I think I mentioned Stan.
Did you mention him?
Yeah. You can't talk about the Cardinals without Mr. Musial. There's a strike, 2-1. Of course, if you go to St. Louis, you have lunch. Once a road trip with Mr. Musial, and Rusty and I were honored to join you one time. We had to force our way in.
Oh, no, you were invited. The only condition was you had to pick up the check.
2-1 pitch. Inside. No, it's a strike.
Jeff Kent had trouble last night with the umpire. This time he hasn't indicated that he didn't like that call. He's been moved up to the third spot with the left-hander pitching. And here's this situation with the wider strike zone. Ball didn't look that far inside.
No.
Might have caught the corner.
2-2 pitch. Down low, 3-2. We hope the regular umpires get back in a hurry. But I think, Ralph, players would be super sensitive to replacement umpires.
They should be.
Super critical to
They were in the
replacement
same
umpires.
position.
That's right.
It looked like replacement players were going to start the season. They should have a lot of sympathy for the situation.
And a 3-2 pitch. Nope, they checked the runner at first base. Vizcaíno back. Frank Howard over to talk to Vizcaíno.
I think it's a lot like the alumni of a college football team. They're with you win or tie. They're in sympathy with the replacement umpires as long as they don't call a strike against them.
That's right. Here's a fly ball on right field line. Out of play. It's interesting. A couple of the players went out and joined umpires on a picket line. Jose Canseco for one. Andy Van Slyke the other day. And looking at the picture, it's a picture of harmony between a player and an umpire. Wait till those umpires come back. Those players will be all over them.
That's right. The honeymoon is over.
They'll be insulted for that dugout. Three-two pitch, swung and a miss. The throw to second base in time. Outstanding throw by Pagnazzi because he got it there. Gave the second baseman Akindo time to handle the ball. So a strikeout, throw him out, double play that ends the bottom of the first. We go to the top of the second inning, and it's Cardinals 1, Mets nothing. There's a line score as you go to the top of the second inning here at Shea Stadium. And leading off for the Cardinals will be John Mabry. He's playing right field today. Mabry at first base last night was 2 for 4 and drove in 2 runs. He'll be followed by Tom Pagnazzi and then Jose Akindo. The play that in last inning, Pagnazzi's throw was high. The reason it was a good throw was so strong it beat the runner by a lot. It gave the second baseman Jose Akindo plenty of time to apply the tag to Jose Vizcaíno. First pitch to Mabry. Strike call. Pete Harnish taking the signs from Todd Hundley. Here's the 0-1 pitch. Breaking ball hit hard but foul.
That was a good pitch by Harnish. Took something off of the breaking ball. Got it down low and inside. Mabry out in front of it, hit it hard, but that's what Harnish wanting him to do. He hit it foul. Those hard foul balls are good for nothing.
The 0-2 pitch. This is just outside. 1-2. Mabry last year spent most of the year in Louisville, AAA. For the Cardinals, batted .262. He hit 15 home runs and drove in 68. Batted .304 in a short stay with the Cardinals. There's a nasty third strike. Right on the old black.
This is a hard slider, and it's perfect.
Number 19, Tom Pagnozzi.
Harnish. That might have been that cut fastball. It had movement on it. Didn't move as much as a slider, but a slider's a little slower pitch. It looks like a nickel curve, as Frankie Frisch used to call it. He hated that pitch.
And Tom Pagnozzi fouled the first pitch off from Pete Harnish. Harnish so far has looked like he's got good stuff. The Mets are trailing 1-0 here in the top of the second inning. It's 0-1 on Tom Pagnozzi. Pagnozzi lost the ball to the right side. Bronya unable to come up with it. So it's strike 2 on Tom Pagnozzi.
It's breezy here at Shea, and that not an easy play. Bronya started after this, and it just gets carried too far beyond his reach. No chance for Everett to get it. You know, talking about Frankie Frisch as a manager, he hated the slider. Thought it was a nickel curve, a nothing pitch. And when pitchers would throw that pitch and someone would hit it out of the ballpark, when they came to the bench, Frisch would ask, what was that pitch? And they'd never tell him it was a slider. They said anything but that.
That's funny because that's a tough pitch.
A good slider is very tough. But a lot of them are really nothing curveballs.
Pagnozzi drives his ball to right field. Everett in pursuit, Nice play. Carl Everett.
This is really a tough play for Everett. The ball hit right at him. He gets a little bit tangled up as the ball starts to curve to the foul line side, and he makes that great backhand catch. So that was an outstanding play on a very difficult ball, as you can see. Everett, an outstanding athlete, and he should be. Came from Hillsborough High School. Doc Gooden came from there.
Gary Sheffield.
Floyd Yeomans.
Oh, quite a baseball program down there as Jose Aquindo steps in and takes up high from Pete Harnish. Ball 1.
Incidentally, if you're wondering what happened to Doc Gooden and you haven't followed it in the papers, he has been suspended from baseball.
Coaching his son's little league team down there in Tampa, Florida.
He was again caught for drug abuse, failing a drug test, and he's out of baseball for a while.
Fouled out of play, 1-2. Aquindo in last night's game 0 for 3. Talking about Doc Gooden, he told me one time how he ended up on drugs. He said he used to stay away from, and then, you know, you go to parties when you're young, and the guys he grew up with kept telling him, try it, and he tried it.
That's what Sheffield said about him. He said he was a follower, not a leader.
What a shame. Vizcaíno to Bronya. That ends it for Aquindo and the Cardinals here in the second inning. 3 up, 3 down. We've played 2 here at Shea, and it's 1-0 St. Louis.
Mets Baseball is brought to you in part by the Optima True Grace card from American Express.
Back here at Shea Stadium, leading off for the Mets, Bobby Bowe was 3 for 4 in last night's game with 3 RBIs. He'll be followed by Carl Everett and then Rico Bronya. Bobby Bowe hits a short hop to the shortstop, homer over to Perry. 1 down. Now, fans, it's time for the Coors trivia question. Jose Aquindo, Mr. Kiner.
One of 9 teenagers to play for the Mets. Who was the youngest?
Did he play at Hank Greenberg's old high school?
Might have.
Well, with 1 man down, and you ponder that trivia quiz brought to you by Coors and Coors Light, Carl Everett steps in. And he takes a ball from Donovan Osborne. He gets severely jammed, but this might turn into a base hit, and it does. An extra base hit. The throw to second, and Everett's in with a double. So Carl Everett, after a 1-for-4 last night, his first at bat here this afternoon, picks up a double.
That one hit last night, 417 feet. Longest home run hit here so far this season. This one he hits right off his fist, and it goes about 160 feet, and he gets half a home run.
In baseball, they say the same guy hit both. So Everett on second base, one man gone here in the second inning, and the batter Rico Brogna. Brogna 0 for 3 in last night's game. He's hit 2 home runs already here in 95. Tries the bunt. Bunts it foul. Take a look at that Coors trivia answer now.
If you guessed Eddie Greenpool, you were right.
Big star here in the New York area. Very popular Met player.
How about some other names of those teenagers? Jim Bethke, Kevin Collins, Greg Goosen, Nolan Ryan, Tim Foley, Jose Oquendo is playing second base right now. Oquendo. I'll never forget Casey's line about Greg Goosen, who was a catcher for the Mets, 19. He was trying to say something nice about him. He says, well, he's 19 years old, and in 10 more years, he's got a chance to be 29.
That could rule your confidence right there.
He couldn't come up with anything more than that.
1 and 2 on Brogna. So Casey really wasn't that good for those young players.
Well, you know, Casey had that great sense of humor, and he was tough on guys who didn't play hard. Not that Goosen didn't play hard. In fact, he played so hard at night when he wasn't in the ballpark and got him in trouble.
And a nice play, but they're unable to get Brogna at first base. Ball hit off of Perry's glove. Oquendo picked it up, threw to Osborne at first, but Brogna beats it. So now the Mets have runners on the corners with one man out here in the second inning.
Well, Gerald Perry doesn't play much offensively. He really stabbed at that one. Oquendo gets it off his glove and throws to the pitcher covering, but not in time. Good hustle by Brogna, who had a home run in last night's ball game. So the Mets a chance to get back in it. They trail by 1.
Second hit in this inning for the Mets. You see the defense. Double play depth with one man gone. The batter David Segui, who was 1 for 3 in last night's game. Segui takes a strike. Nice crowd on hand here at Shea Stadium. Cost each and every fan $1 for today's game. Same price tomorrow here at Shea. Same 2 teams, the Cardinals and the Mets. And the 0-1 pitch. Strike 2. Segui will be followed by Todd Hundley. Todd with a big hit in last night's game. Also hit a grand slam opening night at Coors Field in Denver. And the 0-2 pitch inside. So 1 and 2 on David Segui. Must be a tough decision for the Mets to put David Segui in left field. As good a glove as he has at first base. Of course, Brogna has a real good glove at first base.
Well, the only thing that caused that was Segui could play the outfield and Brogna can't.
Segui went to winter ball on his own to work in the outfield. He hits a fly ball to center field. Langford will glove it. Everett will cruise on in, and this ball game is tied at 1.
Batting eighth, the catcher, number 9, Todd Hundley.
So Todd Hundley steps in, runner on first base, 2 men gone. Mets and the Cardinals are tied at 1 here in the bottom of the 2nd inning. Ground ball. Cromer makes the play. A fine play it was. Gets the force at second base. That'll do it for the Mets. They strand 1, pick up 1. We played 2. We're all tied at 1. There's a young lady with her dad enjoying Mets baseball, and in the background, Terry Cashman singing Talking Baseball. Mickey, Willie, and the Duke. That's a terrific song, and he's got Ralphie. He's got Kiner with.
Yeah, they got what? Willie, Mickey, and the Duke matched up. Okay, who does he match me up with? Eddie Goodell. 3 foot 9 inch midget that had batted 1 time. That's who he matched me up with.
We'll talk to Terry about that. That's a terrific song, though. You and Eddie Goodell swing the bat a little bit alike, I think Terry said.
Yeah, he was a based on balls hitter. You know, when they put him up in that game, the bat, it was Bill Veck's idea. One of the great moments in baseball. Almost got Veck kicked out of baseball, as a matter of fact. He put him up the bat. They walked him, obviously. He's 3 foot 9 inches. But Veck was always afraid of Goodell swinging at a pitch and ruining the whole thing. So he told Goodell, he said, look, I got a high-powered rifle, and I'm going to be sitting in my seat. He says, if you swing at one of those pitches, I'm going to shoot you dead at home plate.
That's a great moment in baseball history. 0-2 on Donovan Osborne, the pitcher for the Cardinals. He takes outside 1-2. And the 1-2 pitch from Pete Harnish, swung and a miss, strike 3. So Harnish gets his 4th strikeout of the game. He's a strikeout pitcher. He has struck out 12 guys at least 4 times during his career.
He certainly is. He has good stuff. A great acquisition by Joe Mack as he picked up the man from Commack, New York.
Yeah, Bernard Gilkey, who struck out his first time up, steps in and takes that cutter for a strike. 0-1. Pete Harnish in the American League was 16-22. Joined the Houston Astros, he was 45-33. A winning pitcher in the senior circuit, and he misses up high 1-1 on Bernard Gilkey. Trip Cromer will follow Gilkey. And the 1-1 pitch. Fastball misses up high. 2-1.
Harnish pitched a 1-hitter, and they only hit a 2-out single in the 7th by Mark Grace. It was against the Cubs.
Here's a fly ball center field. Red Butler makes the grab. 2 down.
Number 7, Trip Cromer.
So the batter now, Trip Cromer. As we mentioned earlier, his full name, Roy Bunyan Cromer III. He doubled his first time up, doubled to right field. His dad's a scout, baseball scout. Although his dad didn't sign him.
Didn't like him.
That's not true. 1-1. He was scouted by Vern Benson. And a 1-1 pitch. Fly ball to right field. Carl Everett coming in and makes the grab for out number 3. So the Cardinals go quietly here at the top of the 3rd. We've played 2.5 here at Shea on a sunny afternoon, and it's all tied at 1.
Bob Pop in the Sports Authority Game Time Studios. This update brought to you by MetLife. Knicks and Cavs playing Game 2 of their series at Madison Square Garden. And right now, Cleveland with a 4-point lead in the third quarter. Cavs led it by 2 at the half. Their lead as big as 10 points in this game. Back to Shea Stadium we go. Here's Fran, Healy, and Ralph Kiner. Guys?
Okay, Bob, and speaking of big, there's Big D. Dallas Green. They're all tied at 1 here at Shea Stadium in the bottom of the third inning. Leading off for the Mets will be the pitcher, Pete Harnisch. He'll be followed by the top of the order, Brett Butler, and then Jose Vizcaino. Harnisch with a big swing pops the ball in foul territory. Pagnazzi gives chase, but the ball's out of play. It's easy to forget that Tom Pagnazzi won 3 Gold Gloves in the last 4 years. I mentioned earlier he was penciled in to be a backup catcher. All of a sudden got the opportunity and took advantage of it.
They moved Todd Zeal out to third base. And the man who made that move was Joe Torre, who also was a catcher in his beginning days in the major leagues and was moved to third base.
Harnisch just took strike 2, so it's 0-2 on the Met right-hander. There's Joe, terrific major league player. He was a real good catcher. They moved him to third. He played first.
230 hits in a season. MVP 1 year, led the league in hitting. Pretty good for a fat boy from Brooklyn.
Jeez.
That's what he was when he came into baseball. He is now in tremendous shape.
I didn't want to say that. I knew you were going to say it.
But he was heavy when he came into baseball. His brother, an outstanding player in the major leagues, Frank Torre.
Frank got him the opportunity. Here's a foul ball out of play. So we'll do it to get it 0-2. Yeah, they said that Joe used to come over to the ballpark with his brother Frank, and that's what they thought of him, that he was a overweight kid.
One thing about Joe Torre, we were talking about Ozzie Smith, who hit into only 3 double plays all season last year, and Joe Torre hit into 4 double plays in 1 game 1 year for the New York Mets.
He blamed it on the guy who hit in front of him.
Yeah, he said I never would have done it 4 times if Felix Meehan hadn't had 4 hits in front of me.
Number 22, Brett Butler.
There's our Chrysler League leaders as Brett Butler comes to the plate. He has 5 singles, tied with Jordan Robertson Sanchez. Butler struck out his first time up. Donovan Osborne with 3 strikeouts in this ball game. Pete Harnisch with 4. As Brett Butler fouls the pitch off. So it's 0-1 on the Mets center fielder.
1993, Butler had 147 singles to lead the National League in singles.
Highly visible personality in the Players Association, their negotiations with the owners. Breaking ball misses outside, 1-1. Probably hurt him as far as the Dodgers were concerned. Of course, 20 years ago, you didn't want to be a player rep.
I was one. I got traded.
Did you when you play rep?
Butler, I was talking to him before the ball game. He said he didn't want to play where he wasn't wanted.
Well, he just looped that ball in left field, and he's going to go for 2. The throw, not in time. Good hustle by Brett Butler. And he's in scoring position with 1 man gone here in the third.
Same situation as in the second inning with 1 out. Carl Everett doubled, and he scored. Good base running here. The bobble might possibly have cost the Cardinals the out at second base. No error charged in the play, as Butler will be credited with a 2-base hit.
It's amazing because they had positioned their outfield to play Butler to slap the ball the other way. He slapped it the other way and stretched a single into a double.
Used to play Harry Walker the same way. Harry the Hat Walker. He hit a lot like Butler, little bloop singles and doubles like that to left field. And another great player, although not in the Hall of Fame, used to do that, Stan Hack. Brilliant third baseman for the Cubs.
Jose Vizcaino with a 1-0 count. Takes down low, so it's 2-0 on the Met shortstop. He'll be followed by Jeff Kent.
Harry the Hat Walker, one of the few people to ever lead the league in hitting and played for 2 teams.
And the 2-0 pitch. Nice play by Pagnazzi. 3-0 on Vizcaino. It's interesting the way you said he played for 2 teams. 20 years from now, broadcasters will be talking about some players, and he played for 12 teams. It'll be no big deal because of free agency. Mike coverage flashing signs. Something sacrilegious about it, though. The kids not being able to identify with the players, local markets. Strike 1 on Vizcaino. So it's 3-1. You remember when, well, of course you were playing, but I bet a lot of kids growing up in the Pittsburgh area, you were their idol. I remember in a cab, a guy told me, he used to go to the ballpark when he was a kid to watch you play. There's a strike, 3-2. Doesn't happen today. A lot of guys are gone. By the time you fall in love with your favorite player, he's gone.
What do you think about playing with one team for a long time? Stan Musial, never traded.
Brooks Robinson.
One time Frank Lane, who was the general manager of the Cardinals, Trader Lane they called him, wanted to trade Musial. And Bush, who owned the ball club, said, "Are you crazy? You go before he goes." He did trade away Red Chambers, who was also extremely popular in St. Louis and a very close friend of Musial, still is.
They call him Trader Frank Lane. He got carried away, didn't he?
He traded managers one year. Joe Gordon.
Cleveland and Detroit.
Yeah.
And a 3-2 pitch. And Butler on the move. Nice play by Cooper. A long throw. They got him. Strong throw by Cooper. Nice tag by Perry. And Butler advances to third base on the ground out.
You know, you were talking about Cooper and that strong arm. Last night he made a terrible throw home, hit the runner, and gave the Mets a run. Here again, another way off line throw.
There's base umpire Frank Ballina calling the runner out. There's Scott Cooper. As I mentioned, 2-time All-Star in the American League. And now Jeff Kent will step in. He struck out his first time up. When he struck out, Pagnazzi threw to second base to get Jose Vizcaino. Swung on and missed. 0-1. So no balls and 1 strike on Kent as Brett Butler leads off third base. Nice play again by Pagnazzi. That's a tough play for a catcher because you're diving in towards the hitter.
And nice little knee slide there after catching that ball.
Pagnazzi making this look easy.
Look at this slide on the knees. So fast you couldn't see it.
Slid right out of the picture.
That's right.
1-1 on Jeff Kent. Go ahead rundown on third base. Kent hits the ball hard to the left side, but foul. So it's 1-2.
Kent's got to be very unhappy about the fact they had a shortened April. Last year in April, he just tore it up. And 26 runs batted in April.
When you talk to him about it, he'll tell you that it was very unusual to be that hot. You can't keep it up all year. Of course, so many people questioned him about it when he was red hot. You start to doubt yourself.
He didn't want to talk about it. He was afraid he was going to jinx himself. A lot of people feel that way.
And a 1-2 pitch. Up high. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
2 other players had better Aprils. Andres Galarraga set a National League record with 30 runs batted in, and Joe Carter in the American League had 31 runs batted in. Of course, Those records are all new and established because they play more games in April than they used to.
Gets jammed and fights the ball off into the crowd.
Normally the season in April started in the middle of April before they went to 162 games from 154.
So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes and Jeff Kent, 2 outs. We're in the bottom of the 3rd here at Shea Stadium, and we're all tied at 1.
The strike certainly will prevent any big records being broken this year because they're only going to play 144 games. So you can forget about any of those home run records, RBI records. Of course, you can forget about RBI records anyway.
Up high.
You think anybody will drive in 190 runs again? That's a record. Hack Wilson back in 1930.
Well, I'll tell you, nobody thought that anybody would get this close to Lou Gehrig's record. Cal Ripken in pursuit could break it this year. And a 3-2 pitch. Swung on and missed, strike 3. So Kent goes down swinging. Butler stranded on 3rd. We've played 3 here at Shea. We're all tied at 1.
Mets baseball is brought to you in part by 9X Yellow Pages. More information, more solutions, more stuff.
Well, we go to the top of the 4th inning on a beautiful afternoon here in Flushing, New York. There's the line score. The Cardinals and the Mets are all tied at 1, the 2nd game of this 3-game series. And on a beautiful day, sliding in with the play-by-play, a man who's always in good spirits, La Grande Orange, or Rusty Staub.
Thanks, Francis Xavier. Good to be home and doing baseball, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Top of the 4th inning, we're all tied. Ray Lankford, who doubled in a run on his first at bat, takes a strike from Hornish and looks at the home plate umpire, Cy Ryberg, as if he had slapped him in the face. I mean, we talked about it on the pregame show. I mean, I don't understand the players. I mean, they think the umpires are going to change because of them. Somebody's got to get that stick I told you about. Remember that one you hit them in the middle of the forehead with to get their attention?
That'll do it. The soft approach.
Have they heard about the Lindbergh baby? I mean, really. There are different umpires out there, guys, honest to God. Swing the bats. That slider up and in. 2 balls and 1 strike. Line drive to left field. So Lankford on with his 2nd base hit.
Number 28, Gerald Perry.
Gerald Perry with his first start of the season. He had been 0 for 3 in his pinch hit attempts. Jordan, who had played the outfield, in fact hit a long home run in last night's game, had some physical problems. They checked him out before the game, decided not to start him. That gave Perry a chance to come into the game and play first base. Nobody out. Lankford, who has good speed, at first base. Decent lead. Not going anywhere. Hornish misses, ball 1. Lots of changes for the St. Louis Cardinals from the general manager on down. Dal Maxfield, who was there for a number of years, is gone. Joe Coleman was the pitching coach last year. He's gone. Bucky Dent.
Bucky now coaching in Texas with the Rangers.
Fly ball deep to center field. Butler has a beat on it, back by the wall. He's on the track, but he's got it. Tagging up is Lankford, and what a good base running move by Ray Lankford. He gets in scoring position with only 1 out.
Well, he reached first base by good hitting, hit the ball where it was pitched. Basically stole second base. Advancing on a fly ball to center field. Good base running. So Brett Butler in pursuit of this fly ball. He grabs it right on the warning track. And he's about to throw, and he loses his footing, but no play at second base because Langford has real good speed. He should make that every time.
That was just good base running. The only time you get in trouble on a play like that is if you misjudge it and it comes off the wall.
Right. That's right.
But he rightly felt that if it was so high, it was either going to go out of the ballpark or be caught. And he was correct. So Scott Cooper with a ball and no strikes. An easy fly ball. Everett coming in. He's got a chance. They got him. They doubled him up.
Yes.
They doubled him up. After a terrific base running play, Langford blows it. And the Mets are out of the top of the fourth. Good throw by Carl Everett ends it. After 3.5 innings, we're all tied at 1.
Different, but it never changes. Baseball, it's still the greatest game in the world, and we play it at Shea.
Hey fans, we want to see you back at Shea, so come on out tomorrow and enjoy baseball for $1. All individual game tickets for tomorrow's 1:40 Mets Cardinals game are just $1, plus kids 14 and under get a Mr. Met backpack from Tropicana. Don't miss baseball for $1. Tickets are available tomorrow at the day of the game sales windows at Shea's Gates A and E. Well, here's that play that ended the inning. Nice catch by Everett, a routine fly ball, and now a strong throw. A lot of talk in spring training about that throwing arm, and he displays it right there. His 3rd assist of the season. So Carl Everett showing off that fine throwing arm. Early in spring training, we were talking about the best throwing arm for the right field position with the Mets. Hands down, it was Carl Everett.
Very much so. Ray Langford not only here's a play last night by Everett. Let's check this one out. This is when he calls off Butler. This was a big play in the game. Takes it, makes a good throw home, and Jordan, who was not sliding, is tagged out by Hundley.
Hundley staying right in there.
I was saying Langford, when he went back in, almost hurt his ankle. Bobby Bowe takes a ball inside. 2 balls and no strikes. Langford went in standing up at second base. You saw him fall down on that replay. Boy, that's a good way to get hurt. Ground ball, foul, 2 balls, 1 strike. And Met fans, this break inning action is a great time for you to break open an ice cold Budweiser and enjoy that fresh, pure, natural taste. Proud to be your Bud. Bonilla 0 for 1 in this game. Went 3 for 4 last night in the ball game against the St. Louis Cardinals. Donovan Osborne gets it in on him a little bit. It's a pop-up. Going back is Comer, and he makes a nice play. So Bonilla, the first out of the 4th inning for the Mets. And that will bring up Carl Everett.
Number 3, Carl Everett.
Early in spring training, Carl Everett had a run-in with Dallas Green. In talking with Mets management, they decided to figure out what made Carl Everett tick. Instead of immediately putting a bad rap on him, they decided to find out what makes him tick. And they've done a good job. A lot of the credit goes to Dallas Green.
Dallas Green, if you get on the wrong side of Dallas, you're in a heap of trouble.
A lot of times, as you know, Rusty, when we first started in baseball, if you had a bad rap, you were history.
Fly ball deep to left. He's in a Cadillac. He says it's a home run. So Carl Everett trying to make a name in this ball game. A great throw, and now a deep home run to put the Mets ahead 2-1. He knew it all the way. Torre taking it all in.
Well, here it is. Carl Everett getting the head of the bat out there, pulling the ball into the bullpen here in left field. And as Rusty said, he got into the Cadillac.
Rico Bronya took ball one. Bronya himself with a couple of home runs on the season. Oh, fooled by that breaking ball by Osborne.
Here's that home run again. Everett with the big swing into the bullpen here at Shea Stadium.
Bronya lost a little pop-up. Oquendo says, I got it. He does. 2 down. So Bronya 1 for 2 in the game. And that'll bring up David Segui. Segui with a sacrifice fly in his first at bat. It is Donovan Osborne trying to make a comeback from missing all of last season with the Cardinals. Young pitcher with a terrific arm. Got to be very fortunate to come back and have all the zip you had before an injury. High and deep again. It's way back there. Home run! David Segui hits the second home run in his inning for the New York Mets, and the Mets go ahead 3-1. It's jumping. And that'll bring up Hundley.
Well, nothing excites the crowd more than a long ball, and this is a long ball. You see the outfielder just watching that ball go over the bleachers in left center field.
Hundley with a strike. Swings at another good breaking ball, misses it. It's 0-2. New York Mets playing long ball in the 4th. Todd Hundley, he and Vizcaino signed their contracts yesterday. That made the Mets roster fully signed. That time another good breaking ball down and in gets Hundley. But the Mets on the board with 2 home runs in the bottom of the 4th. After 4, Mets 3, Cards 1. Shea Stadium, top of the 5th. Mets with a 2-run lead. John Mabry will face Harnish for the second time. He went down on strikes his first time up. Beautiful sunshine day here at Shea. Nice crowd. Baseball for a buck weekend. Ball topped. Strike 1. Mabry had a couple of hits, a couple of RBIs in last night's game, but the Mets came from behind and beat the Joe Torre Cardinals. Ground ball toward the hole. Bronya went for it for a second, then he got to first, and Ken has him 1 down. It's one of the things the first baseman has to really make an adjustment to, especially as deep as Bronya was. If you make that break to the right, you can make it awful difficult for the pitcher, who has to cover, running very hard to take a throw from the second baseman.
A lot of people thought that Jeff Kent would be moving to third base even in the middle of last year, but Dallas Green made the decision. He said Kent is staying at second base. He's turned into a pretty good defensive second baseman.
I agree with you, Francis.
A lot of pop in that bat too.
No doubt about it. And Jeff wants to play second. That's a big part of it. That's the position he wants to play. He wanted it so much he worked at it. He's improved a great deal. Fouled straight back by Pagnazzi.
Even in spring training this year, there was some talk that Bonilla was going to move over to first, or they're going to put him back in the outfield. Dallas Green said Bonilla is going to play third base.
Well, he does make the lineup.
Yes,
he
says makes it with authority.
If he says you're going to be somewhere, usually you're going to show up there. Strike called. Pagnazzi moving off that pitch. Home plate umpire Cy Raborg says strike 1. More afternoon. Tom Urbani against Bobby Jones. Up and in. We'll push Pagnozzi off the plate. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Two balls, 2 strikes, 1 out. Ground ball, Bonilla. A long throw. He's got him, 2 down.
Well, Harnish making some good pitches there. Pagnozzi had a swing at that pitch. It was a nasty pitcher's pitch. And he pulled the ball. It was out over the plate, pulled it right to Bonilla. Here's that pitch again. A lot of times it's not that swing and a miss. Here's a good pitch. Pagnozzi going out, trying to protect the plate, smothering the ball and hitting a ground ball to Bonilla.
He's wise going out trying to protect that plate, though, isn't he? Got to make that adjustment. That pitch fouled straight back by Oquendo. Francis, I mean, doesn't it make sense that if the plates are wider, when you get 2 strikes, if you're normally standing away from the plate like a lot of hitters do, that you should get up a little bit, not give the guy the opportunity to throw that pitch off the plate? Now, he can come inside like that when you do it, but at least you put yourself in a position to be able to handle a pitch if it's a little bit outside.
I know you've talked about that a lot. I think some hitters are only comfortable in certain positions in the batter's box. You don't see hitters moving around as much as they used to. They stay in that comfort zone and sometimes can't handle that ball out over the plate because they are too far away.
Oquendo, who has that wide open stance, he has his foot very, very close to home plate, to the inside part of the strike zone. But he has that wide strike zone, and he doesn't really drop into the ball like a lot of them do. He uses his arms a lot. Watch him. See, he's not really diving in there. He's kind of stepping a little bit away from the ball, just kind of slashing at it.
Yeah, ordinarily what they try to do is, even when they're open up, they dive into the ball. Oquendo steps away from the plate. Again, a comfort zone.
Yep. Little ground ball.
He would remind you of a guy who moved around the batter's box quite a bit. You moved around the batter's box a lot. Rod Carew. Oquendo has that stance. Rod Carew would have a stance like that, but Rod had all kinds of variations to that stance. He would move on top of the plate, get away from the plate. He'd try to adjust to the pitcher.
Strike 3 called. You saw him falling off the plate. So strikeout number 5 for Harnish. We'll end it for the Cards in the top of the 5th. It's still 3-1 New York. We'll be back. Fans, his copyrighted telecast is authorized on the television third baseline. He gets to rushing his delivery to the plate, and he does not throw a strike.
This guy hitting, everybody is moving in the infield and the outfield. He's either slapping it to left, pulling it to right, bunting it. Look at this defense.
They got to play in. He was thinking of slapping it right by Cooper, but he fouled it off. 1-1.
He has tremendous ability to handle that bat.
Yes, he does.
Now here's a guy that makes adjustments that you were talking about, Brett Butler.
All the time. In fact, fans, day in and day out at home or on the road, you can always count on the great taste of Bud Light. It won't fill you up, and it never lets you down. So make it a Bud Light.
See Scott Cooper in on the grass. Butler very aware of him.
Breaking ball misses. 2-1.
And they were playing Brett Butler exactly the way they're playing him now, to the left side. He looped the ball into left field and stretched a single into a double his last time up.
Hard shot down the right field line. This is at least a double. We'll see if Butler goes for 3. Nope, he shut it down. Good move.
He'll drive a defense crazy. He loops one to left, and then he hits a bullet down the right field line. So now next time up, look for the bunt. Look at this. Hits this rocket into right field. And an easy double for Brett Butler. Joe Torre coming out to the mound now.
Joe's a very patient man to a point. Alan Watson, who was in the game last night, one of those pitchers that has gotten a lot of runs scored for him in his career and had big leads 3 times last year that he blew.
Jeff Parrott throwing in the bullpen.
Anyway, I think Joe was not particularly pleased. He's taken him out of some ball games. Last night, he left him in there. Mets came back. I think Joe is going to make some decisions on this young man being in the rotation.
He looks like a good players manager. He's very popular with his players, Joe Torre.
Osborne with the reverse turn. Vizcaino, he's walked and grounded out. Time called at home plate, no pitch.
According to the rule book, when a pitcher is that far along, the umpire is not supposed to give him time out, but umpires do it a lot.
Bottom of the 5th inning. Mets ahead by 2. That is Butler at second. Vizcaino facing Osborne. Popped up. Will it stay in the field? It looks like yes. Perry right there. It's in foul territory, but it's the second out of the inning. So Harnish and Vizcaino have popped up. Butler, a blue darter down the right field line for a double. And Jeff Kent, who has struck out his first 2 times up, will have a chance to redeem himself. Runner at second. These are the big RBIs. The 2-out RBIs are the big ones. Fastball up. Pagnazzi, a well-respected catcher, not only for his throwing ability, but for his ability to work with the pitchers. The pitchers like to throw to him. That's a big thing for a catcher, right, Francis?
Very important.
Those pitchers can get you, can't they?
You get a group of pitchers that you know, you get one discontented pitcher and he starts talking about, this guy can't call this and he's not calling a good game. Then another guy loses and he starts blaming the catcher. Becomes an epidemic. Happened to Benito Santiago.
I was thinking the same thing. I was thinking exactly the same catcher. 1 ball, 1 strike. Breaking ball, grounder to Cooper. He's been throwing it erratically, but not this time. Right over to first. Will end the inning. Butler stranded after 5. Mets 3, Cards 1. This is a GMC mid-game recap coming up. Everett, Segui, solo home runs in the 4th. Harnish allowed 3 hits in the first 5 innings. Everett, league-leading 3rd outfield assist. Back to Shea. Scott Heeman will be the pinch hitter. It's his totals from last year. Harnish with the delivery. Strike 1. Good fastball right down Broadway. Boy, you get up there pinch hitting. You got to be wailing that bat. Check swing. He went around too far. Strike 2. So Harnish right out front of Heeman. Donovan Osborne out of the game. Hundley, who was sitting way outside. Harnish obliges. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Real break for the New York Mets with all the different changes in rules and regulations during the course of this winter. Mets almost did not have Harnish, but Harnish has Heeman. 1 down. Well, strikeout number 6.
One thing the Mets had in favor in that situation, Harnish from Comac, Long Island, wanted to pitch here in New York, so he was very receptive to signing with the Mets no matter what. He has a K corner already.
Yep. 6 Ks. Bernard Gilkey is 0 for 2. He is 1 of the Ks. Off speed pitch misses. Ball 1. Ozzie Smith getting a rest day. Trip Coma, who's in the on-deck circle, playing shortstop this afternoon's game. 2 balls, no strikes to Gilkey.
How many shortstops over the years did the Cardinals draft when Ozzie was in his prime?
Well, not too many.
Yeah, you had to be excited about getting drafted. Your initial response was, yeah. Then you realize who's playing shortstop in the big leagues. You say, no.
Ground ball to Bonilla. Tough hop. Knocks it down. Picks it up. Throws in the dirt. Can't hold on to it as Bronya.
Bronya got hurt.
And that ball got through. Got Bronya. And not the best area.
Well, take a look at this again. I'm sure Rico doesn't want to see it again. Bonilla knocking the ball down, hustling after the ball. He must have had a bad grip on that ball because it slipped out of his hand. Ooh. That there just ruined your day. You see that happen to a catcher a lot. Usually a first baseman, not that often.
Number 7, Trip Cromer.
Well, the Mets make an error. And Bronya back on his feet rather quickly. I might have taken more than a minute on that. Homer gets jammed. As he play Kent, Vizcaino. They give the Mets the out. It was a close play. 4-6-3. So the error followed by a double play. After 5.5 innings, Mets still lead 3-1. It's the Mets and the Montreal Expos. Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. to be live right here on Sports Channel. Don't forget Game Time. Our pregame show starting at 7 o'clock. We'll be with you both Tuesday and Wednesday nights from Montreal. Francis Xavier.
Be nice to see those Expos because they've been dismantled. As you look at Jeff Parrott, the new pitcher, see his stats. He's only been in 1 game. How about that ERA? You want to bring that down before the end of the season. Rest of the story, it's a short story.
That is a short story, but it's the beginning of the season. Bobby Bonilla has grounded out and popped up. Both to the shortstop. So Jeff Parrott in the pitch for Donovan Osborne. Bottom of the 6th, 3-1 Mets. Bonilla fouls it straight back. Strike 1. Don't forget tomorrow, the second day of baseball for a buck out here at Shea. Come on out and see the Mets play. They have been playing tremendously exciting baseball. Swing and a miss by Bonilla. And that time Parrott snuck it by him. And in May, Francis, we'll have to have Ralph in between these innings go out there and get some of these concessions. They're all going to be at half price. Everything but beer.
He's probably out there right now.
The whole month of May, concessions are half price. Wow. Come on out to Shea and enjoy yourselves if you can.
There it is.
Join Francis and I along with Ralph right here on Sports Channel.
Get out here, you go over to home plate, get some refreshments.
Fly ball, but it's pulled foul. He hit it hard into that second tier. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Bonilla, leading off the 6th. Swing and a miss. Good pitch by Parrott. Bonilla goes down on strikes. That's another one of those guys that has the split finger. Not only is tomorrow baseball for a buck, but it is also a Tropicana backpack day. So you come out, get your backpack, so when you come in May, you can load up the backpack at half price.
Terrific backpacks. Did you
Yes,
get
they
one?
are. No, I haven't got one yet. Everett has doubled and homered. 2 for 2. No balls and a strike. Timeout is called. There is a ball on the field. open stance for Everett. A little different than Oquendo, though. He kind of moves right on in there. That time showing bunt. He's had 2 really long home runs.
Runs very
he
well.
Shortens up a lot, doesn't he?
Yeah, strong throwing arm.
Got Cooper on a string. Got him moving back and in. Hard ground ball by the first baseman, Perry. Over quickly is Mabry, and that's going to be a single for Carl Everett. 3rd hit in a row.
Number 26.
So with 1 down, Rico Brogna will come to the plate. Seventh hit for New York. Brogna has 1 of them. He's 1 for 2.
Everett 3 for 3 in the afternoon. A home run, double, and a single. With that type of speed, can he get that triple?
Got to hit a gap. I get one of those balls that goes right down the line, hits the edge of the pad while a guy's running hard in the wrong direction. That's how I got my triples.
Did you ever hit for the cycle?
No, I did not.
I didn't mean to offend you with that question.
You didn't?
I think Ralph did, though.
Ball 2 to Brogna. Bobby Wine going through the signs. Most of the time on a 2-0 count, the hitter has some pop. You'd like to give him an opportunity to be selective on a pitch. Some guys like to put the hit and run on. There goes the runner. The throw is up. He slides underneath it. So a bad throw by Pagnozzi and a good slide by Everett, and he has a stolen base.
It was a strong throw, but it tailed away from the second base and headed towards the position, second baseman's position. Watch this. And nice try by the shortstop Cromer, just missing Everett. Good throw gets him. Pagnozzi with that strong arm, ball tailing away from second base, and Everett getting under the tag. Good call by the second base umpire, Vance Harris.
3-0 to Brogna. He takes strike 1.
But when you're catching, a lot of times when you know somebody can run and he's on first base, you try to rush the throw. It's like a pitcher, you release the ball too high.
Brogna hoping for a fastball he can handle. Pagnozzi looking down and away. Ball hit hard and deep. Back goes the right fielder. It's going to bounce off the wall. Everett's going to have to hustle. They're going to second base for Brogna, so the run is going to score easy. A double and an RBI for Rico, and Everett scores the 4th run for the Mets.
Well, I got some young guys who can really swing the bat in this ball club. Have done it so far here in 4 games in 1995. Brogna stinging this ball. Short hops the wall. Mabry gets the ball back in, but Brogna is sliding into second base ahead of the throw with a double and an RBI.
So David Segui, who homered in his last at-bat, he has 2 RBIs along with that home run, a sacrifice fly, a chance to get another one. 1 down, infield deep. Ball down a left field line. If this is fair, it's trouble. It's foul. So Segui trying to plant it right down the left field line. Brogna back to second. And we're going to have a little stroll out to the mound by Mark Riggins. And fans, tomorrow at 7:30, Ray Ferraro and the Islanders head up north to face the Ottawa Senators at 7 o'clock. Catch all the latest sports news from this busy weekend in sports with our pregame show, the Sports Authority Game Time. Then the Islanders battle the Senators tonight at 7:30, only on SportsChannel. I think the discussion is, are they going to pitch to Segui or are they going to pitch to Hundley? Both guys pretty hot.
Seguin with a long home run, but from the right side of the plate in the 4th inning. Hit it over the bleachers in left center field. Hundley in this ball game 0 for 2. I don't like facing those guys after they hit a home run. They're too relaxed at the plate.
Yeah?
I'd rather go after that guy that's maybe 0 for 2. Rich DeLucia throwing in the bullpen.
Seguin waiting. No balls, 1 strike. Down in the dirt. Good stop by Pagnazzi. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Pagnazzi's done a fine job behind the plate once again today.
He's just a good catcher. Going through his signs. See him setting up, down and away again. It's down. And it's ball 2. 2-1. Bronya leaning off second. Fly ball to center field. Plenty room for Langford. 2 down. Now this is what's tough when you're the 8-hole hitter, because Todd Hundley won't get much to hit, if anything. They may just walk him intentionally.
Todd Hundley.
Why mess around with it? 4-1 ball game. They're going to pitch to him.
Yeah, Pagnazzi's in the squad, so they're going to pitch carefully to him. That ball down. And Spires in the on-deck circle. That bullpen is active. Fly ball deep to right, right down the line. Is it fair? Foul ball. Hundley had it, but it went foul.
Pitching carefully can be dangerous.
He was pitching pretty careful there, but I'll tell you what, that ball went a long way for careful. Joe Torre sitting in that dugout going, did you tell him to pitch around him? Managers know the cameras are on them all the time. They all try to have that stoic look, like they're not aggravated.
Joe looks so relaxed.
He's churning inside. 1 ball, 1 strike, 2 down. Mets leading 4-1. We're in the bottom of the 6th. In the dirt, and again, Pagnazzi, a good stop. So after giving up that long fly ball that just went foul, Parrott said, hit this. He threw it in the dirt. Hit that over the fence. You're the hitter now. Got to pick a pitch you want. You don't get it. Ground ball right at the second baseman Oquendo. That will end the inning. Mets on the scoreboard again at the bottom of the 6th inning. And they now lead the Cardinals 4-1. Back at Shea, Ricky Artero will move into left field. He will be hitting in the number 9 slot. The infamous double switch. And on the mound will be Jerry DiPoto. His 3rd game of the season. And you see, no wins or losses, no saves, 6.75 earned run average. And then to take us the rest of the way, guy who for 7 years in a row, 7, Ralph. Was it only 7?
Yeah, only
7 years in a row. Tied for the home run championship, or won it outright 7 years in a row. Our Hall of Famer, Ralph Kiner.
Okay, Rusty, and DiPoto in last night's ball game worked the 8th inning. Gave up no runs, allowed just 1 base hit.
Speaking of 8, what happened to the 8th year? Why didn't you win it? What's wrong with you?
Yeah, choked up. Eddie Matthews hit a bunch of home runs. That's what happened. He hit
50. Is that 47?
Yeah.
I know he hit close to 50.
So it'll be Ray Langford to lead it off. Ray in this ball game, 2 for 2, a double and a single.
Did Mr. Ricky give you a cut after that? I know he gave you a cut after you hit. What did you hit that one
No,
year?
I would have got a cut from Mr. Ricky. You know that would have happened, but I was with the Cubs at the time. They gave me a cut.
Oh boy, Ranch Ricky, your old pal.
And the first pitch to Langford, taken for strike 1.
Get a chance here in between hitters. We'll talk about Mr. Ricky for a second.
And there's a ball.
Tell him the story, Ralph.
One
Come
ball
on.
and 1 strike. Well, one year I hit 37 home runs to lead the league, and the next couple of months later I got my contract from Mr. Ricky, and it was for 25% cut.
After leading the league in homers.
Yeah, that was the 7th year. So I naturally held out. Ball bounced down the right field side foul, 1 and 2. And finally it got to where it was almost spring training time. Mr. Ricky came out to California, and we met at Gilmore Field, which was a farm club of the Pirates, the Hollywood Stars, and we had a long discussion. I said, Mr. Ricky, I hit 37 home runs. I led the league in home runs. We drew 1 million people. The only reason why, because we had a terrible team that year. Tell you how bad that team was. Joe Garagiola was our catcher. He doesn't like that line. And he finally said to me, son, he says, where did we finish? And I said, we finished last. He says, we can finish last without you.
And you reported.
So I took the 25% cut, reported to Havana, Cuba, where the Pittsburgh Pirates are training that year.
Wow.
The days of Batista before Castro got into power there.
Yep.
2 balls, 2 strikes to count. You ever think about Castro? You know, he tried out with the New York Giants as a pitcher, and they didn't take him. If they had taken him, he would have been a major league ball player and no dictator of Cuba. So we can blame it all on the Giants.
Yes. Took
Mr.
a bad hop.
Stoneham, yeah,
It was
Mr.
a bad hop.
Stoneham, the owner of the New York Giants. Down the line and fair. So Langford will get another extra base hit. That will be his 3rd hit of the ball game. He's going to try for 3, and it will be no 3-base hit. It'll be a double as it goes as a grounds rule double. Ball going in under the stands there. So a slight break for the Mets there.
Right down the line. You can see it's fair. Watch the fans lean in. If they touch it, whoop, there it is. They touched it. That's an automatic double.
Number 28, Gerald Perry.
So now a runner in scoring position as the Mets lead the game by a score of 4-1. And Gerald Perry making a very infrequent appearance as a starting ball player, mainly a pinch hitter and a great one. The batter, Perry, is 0 for 2, playing first base today.
That play helped the Mets. Langford would have made 3rd.
Fine pitching job by Pete Harnish as he went 6 innings. And Perry fouls it back into the stands, out of play.
Ralph, first brownies of the season, Ralph. Get over there. Mr. Wilpon shipping them in, big boy. All right, Freddie.
I'll
Here
take
we
the
go.
strawberries.
There you go, Ralph.
Perry,
Jump in there.
a pinch hitter in last night's ball game. 0 for 1. He takes the breaking ball. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
We told you Ozzie Smith is not playing in today's game. Ozzie, during the course of this year, if he stays healthy, obviously, will probably surpass Louis Aparicio in some of the all-time categories. Number 1 in chances and the other in double plays. Aparicio has been the lifetime leader in the history of the major leagues for a long time in that category, or both those categories, and Ozzie's name will replace him sometime this year.
Also not playing Brian Jordan, who had 3 hits, one of them a home run in last night's game. And it is strike 3 called. Home plate umpire Cy Ryberg made the call. So Perry walks
Number
away.
34, Scott Cooper.
So DePoto gets his first strikeout.
And that will bring up Scott Cooper, who is 0 for 2. Cooper 0 for 6 against the Mets since coming to the National League from the Boston Red Sox. And that's ball 1.
He will get his hits, though. He's a fine player. You don't get to be an all-star for nothing.
Two-time All-Star in the American League, playing third base for the Boston Red Sox. And right on the outside corner, 1 ball and 1 strike. Arnish pitching 6 innings, giving up just 3 hits, 2 of them in the first inning. The 1-1 delivery, pulled foul, 1 and 2. Scott Cooper. He is a native St. Louisian. Is that the right word?
Louisianan?
Louisiana.
Yep.
Originally selected by the Red Sox in the 3rd round of the June 1986 draft. And that's a ball for ball 2. First pro year, 1986 at Elmira. He hit .288 with 9 home runs. Called up in his 5th pro year to Boston, was in 2 games, got no hits and 1 at bat. And hit .457 and 91 for Boston in 14 games. Three balls and 2 strikes. Last year with Boston, he hit .279, 9 home runs, 63 runs batted in 156 games. I should say that was 1993. Last year he hit .282 with 13 home runs. Full count, 3-2. 1 man out, runner at second base. Mets lead 4-1. They've out-hit the Cardinals 8-4.
Speaking of 4-1s, Ralph, Chicago ahead of Montreal 4-1. They're going for 4 in a row. 4 wins in a row.
Last year they didn't win their first game at home in something like 13 games. Ball 4, and now the Mets are in trouble. Cooper working out the walk, and that puts the tying run at the plate. First walk that the Cardinals have received this ball game. Mabry 0 for 2 in the game. I struck out and grounded out. Both these clubs having a lot of difficulty with the team earned run average. Mets are last. Their earned run average 7.55. The Cardinals are next to last with a 6.92 ERA. Both teams hitting well. Cardinals .333 second in the National League, and the Mets .325 third in the National League. But the pitching has been lacking. That is strike 1. One ball, 1 strike.
Mabry a little more upright stance, holds the bat high up on the letters.
Played first base in last night's game and was 2 for 4. He's back to his normal position in the outfield in this game. Fouled off a fastball back into the stands. We have a good crowd here today. Of course, a special day. It's Buck Day. Buy your tickets and you get in for $1. And the same goes for tomorrow. And the weather is supposed to be great tomorrow.
Come on out to Shea. You'll have a good time.
A lot of the sports writers really knocking the fact that Mets are charging $1.
Why is that?
I have no idea. Every business in the world has sales.
It's trying to do something to encourage people to really realize that they care about them.
Unbelievable, some of the articles in the New York paper knocking the Mets.
I didn't see those. I'm glad I didn't. Some people are just on a knocking mood, I guess.
Yeah. It's the way of the day. And that's a ball. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes.
Poto got himself in a little bit of a jam here.
Leadoff double, And after a strikeout, a walk to put the time run at the plate. And the pitch back, hit out the left center. It's going to be a tough chance for Butler. He'll get over there, can't get to it. It'll go in for a 2-base hit. Coming in to score from second is Langford. Going to third base and holding there is Scott Cooper. Now the tying run is at second base. So again, the Mets having difficulty when they go into the bullpen. Mabry with the 2-base hit, and that'll bring up Tom Pagnazzi.
Number 19.
Well, so far this
Tom
season,
Pagnazzi.
no lead and no deficit has been too much.
Mets blowing 2 games in their bullpen in Colorado. And then in the second game, blowing another one. Winning last night as the bullpen came through. And now in trouble here again today. And the first pitch to Pagnazzi, taken for a called strike. Pagnazzi robbed of an extra base hit and a fine play by Carl Everett back in the second inning, was struck out by Harnish in the 5th. One ball, 1 strike to count as DePoto works on the mound for the Mets in relief of Pete Harnish, who pitched a brilliant 6 innings.
That bullpen active, both left-handed and right-handed. Looks like Manzanillo.
And the fastball hit out to deep right field. Everett back to the warning track. A run will score. Everett makes the catch. Both runners have tagged up. Cooper scores from third. Mabry goes over to third. So now a 1-run ball game as the Cardinals have scored 2 here in the 7th inning. And Jose Oquendo the batter.
Number 11, Jose Oquendo.
See Pagnazzi. Get a congrats. Ball carried well, didn't it? Ball's carrying very, very well here at Shaded A.
Oquendo is 0 for 2. And that pitch a ball. Chopped out foul on the first base side. 1 ball and 1 strike. Jose Oquendo, who started as a teenager in the Mets organization. He was signed at the age of 15.
Jose's grown a lot of hair on his chin and has a mustache and has shaved his head.
And ball 2, 2 balls and 1 strike.
Going for the new look.
One of 9 players to play for the Mets as a teenager. And that pitch a ball. So it's 3 balls and 1 strike, and now the Mets in jeopardy. Time run at third base. Go ahead run at the plate in the 7th inning. And it will be a tie ball game. Oquendo singles to left field, and that will score Mabry. So negative reaction from the fans here as DePoto gives up 3 runs here in the 7th inning in relief of Pete Harnish. Harnish now will not get a chance to pick up the victory, and that will bring up a pinch hitter.
There's Oquendo. He's going to slap it, go right the other way over the shortstop. Scano got as high as he could, but there comes the tying run. Geronimo Pena will be the pinch hitter.
Dallas Green looking at the pitcher. It'll be a decision for Green as soon as the batter is announced into the ball game, whether he will make a pitching change. It will be up to Dallas whether or not DePoto will pitch to Pena. Geronimo Pena. Mets have their bullpen active. Gunderson, the left-hander, and Manzanilla, the right-hander. And Pena grounds it foul. Pena, big, strong second baseman, but subject to a lot of injuries. Has a tough time making the full season. From the Dominican Republic. And the curveball inside. Pena last year with the Cardinals played in 83 games at .254 with 11 home runs. Played in 74 games in 1993. 62 games in 1992. Good fastball there and a good spot. It's fouled back. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Kendo only 1 stolen base last year.
You know, you would think he could steal bases, but he has no base stealer at all. Never has been. Good curveball, strike 3 call. So Green hangs in there, and Pena called out on strikes. But in the inning, 3 runs and a tie ball game here at Shea Stadium as we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. It's tied at 4. We'll be back.
Bob Poppin, the Sports Authority Game Time Studios. The Cleveland Cavaliers have ended their 8-game playoff losing streak with a 90-84 win over the Knicks at the Garden. Chris Mills' three-pointer with 20 seconds to go wins it for the Cavaliers. This series is tied at 1 game apiece. Speaking of tied, the Mets and Cardinals are tied. Here's Rusty and Ralph with more. Guys?
Bottom half of the 7th inning as the Cardinals have tied it with 3 in the top half. And for the Mets, it will be another battle to the finish. Ricky Otero will lead it off. And a new pitcher in the ball game for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Rich DeLucia.
Otero 1 for 2 since he came into the major leagues. He got a base hit his first at bat against the Colorado Rockies. DeLucia 0-0 so far this year. One the count. One ball and 2 strikes. DeLucia, the pitcher for the St. Louis Cardinals, the 3rd used by Joe Torre. Curveball popped into right field. Coming up is John Mabry. And Otero, the first out here in the bottom half of the 7th. That'll bring up Brett Butler, who has doubled twice in 3 at-bats.
DeLucia was in the Cincinnati organization. Pitched most of the season at Indianapolis last year. Had 19 saves there. Had a little time with the Reds.
Butler now hitting .533. And he takes strike 1. Butler has been on base, make that 12 times in 19 at-bats for the Mets. 8 hits, 4 base on balls. 1 ball, 1 strike.
He's got Mabry in right field, not knowing where to play. They got a gigantic hole in right center now. He was playing him over a little more towards center until Butler pulled that ball down the line.
Well, Butler certainly is wall to wall as a hitter, but mainly a left field hitter. He doubled the left field in the 3rd inning and doubled down the right field line in the 5th. He has not had a bunt base hit for the Mets. He had 10 bunt base hits last year for the Dodgers, batting a career high for the Dodgers last year when he hit .314. He had 8 home runs last year. 10 bunt base hits. He has 261 bunt base hits in his career. Now they count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Score tied at 4-4, bottom half of the 7th inning, and that one in there for a called strike 3. So Butler has been called out on strikes twice. And that will bring up Jose Vizcaino. Jose 0 for 2 with a walk. And a fly ball to left center field. The left fielder, Gilkey, comes over to make the play, and the Mets go out in order in the 7th inning. The score at the end of 7, the St. Louis Cardinals 4, the New York Mets 4. Well, the Cardinals tied up with the Mets at 4 as we go to the top of the 8th inning. Cavaliers beat the Knickerbockers in the 2nd game of their playoff, so it's now 1-1 in that series. And we welcome you who were watching the basketball game to our game here, which is also an exciting game.
Yes, it is. All tied up. New pitcher in for the Mets. Here's Manzanillo. He had rough outing last time out, but he's a game player. Certainly came into his own last year for the New York Mets. See that 67.50. That means you had a rough outing.
From San Pedro de Macorís. Originally signed as a free agent by the Red Sox at the age of 16. He'll face Bernard Gilkey. Gilkey 0 for 3 in today's ball game. Starts him off with a breaking ball that's fouled back into the stands. Fastball hit in the air to center field. So Manzanillo gets his first batter. Sunfield is a tough field in day games here in this ballpark.
Hear him yelling. He didn't bring the glasses down. He knows it was one of those balls that almost got away.
So 1 away, and Trip Cromer is the batter.
If it was that difficult, why didn't he knock his glasses down?
I don't know. Right field, basically the sun field right now, although the shadows point to right center. And there's a swing. A strike 2 count. Cromer doubled his first time up and scored the first run of the ball game. He's 1 for 3. Good curveball, and that strikeout. A 1-2-3 strikeout.
Well, I'm going to tell you, Ralph, the Mets need Manzanillo. Last year he came into his own, as I said earlier, and they really need him to have a good season. He was setting up Franco extremely well when Franco had to miss a few appearances. Manzanillo came in and got a few saves.
Now the hitting hero of the ball game, Ray Langford. 2 doubles and a single and 3 at bats. Hitting .429 with 1 home run, 3 runs batted in. He has always been tough on the Mets. 1 strike to count. Game tied at 4. The pitch back just out of the strike zone.
Checking out the MCI proof positive replay. We'll do it right after this pitch. I don't want to miss anything.
Another good pitch by Manzanillo. 1-2.
Here it is on Zanillo. And that is a good pitch.
The 1-2 pitch. Slider, is it in there? He did not swing. And it's called a ball. So it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Close pitch, but no call on the strike side. Langford has power. 19 home runs last year to tie for the club lead with Todd Zeal. There's one right down the pipe. So Manzanillo blew that one through, and he has a 1-2-3 inning with 2 strikeouts. And the score after 7.5 innings here at Shea Stadium. The St. Louis Cardinals 4, the New York Mets 4. Baseball for a buck. How about that? Tomorrow, as it was today. The Mets, as they want to see you back at Shea, will give you fans a chance to come to the ball game for $1. So come on out tomorrow and enjoy baseball for a buck. All individual game tickets, and they can be bought right here at the ballpark tomorrow. For tomorrow's game at 1:40 with the Cardinals are just $1, plus kids 14 and under get a Mr. Met backpack from Tropicana. Don't miss baseball for a buck. Tickets are available tomorrow at the day of the game sales windows at Shea, gates A and E. Pretty good deal. That's not a pretty good deal. That's a great deal.
I hear you. Baseball for a buck and a backpack for the kids.
Holy cow, as Phil Rizzuto would say. Jeff Kent will lead it off. He's 0 for 3 today, and DeLucia misses for ball 1. Jeff Kent, 1 for 7 in this series, had a tremendous April last season. Now hitting 188 this April, and that pitch for ball 2, 2 balls and no strikes. There is a fellow that would be called 2 of a kind. Jeff Kent, along with Whitey Koroski. Great third baseman for the St. Louis Cardinals, played through 1944. And it's popped up. Similar stats. A play for Pagnazzi, and he is able to hold on to it with that big catcher's glove. Whitey Koroski, 2 of a kind. At the age of 27 and 26, average is comparable. 70 and 68 2-base hits, 46 and 42 home runs. The RBIs going to Koroski, 201 to 199. So Jeff Kent in good company there.
Fine play by Pagnazzi to take Kent away from home plate.
With the score tied at 4, Bobby Bonilla the batter. Bonilla home run in last night's ball game, 0 for 3 in today's game. One ball, 1 strike. Bonilla at 375. Coming into this game, he was 10th in the National League in hitting at 462. And a ground ball in the hole at short. Cromer over to first base for the out. 2 men away.
I'll tell you what, Comer played that ball very relaxed. Took a lot of time.
And now for the Mets, the hitting hero of the ball game with a single, a double, and a home run, Carl Everett.
If he hits a gap, could get the difficult triple.
And the cycle.
And go for the cycle. That's a rare thing in baseball.
The triple, the hardest thing to do. I did it once, and I did it at Ebbets Field, hit for the cycle. And that's
a
really
tough ballpark
tough
to get a triple in.
That's right. Somebody must have broken a leg.
You don't remember it? Was it earlier or later in the game?
I don't have any idea when it was. Or
how could you not remember that stuff?
You know, they really never kept all those kind of stats that they do now. And the triple had to be.
Didn't even talk about you hitting for the cycle that day?
They probably mentioned it, but it was never played up that much. It's the toughest thing to do in baseball. The record for hitting for the cycle is 3 in Major League history, 3 times in a career.
I liked Mickey Mantle at the baseball writers dinner at one time after Canseco had gone 40-40 for the first time. We'll get to that in a second.
This one will not be a three-base hit.
How about next inning? We'll finish that story next inning.
So a 1-2-3 inning, and the Mets go out in order. The score at the end of 8. It's the Cardinals 4, the New York Mets 4. St. Louis Cardinals 4, New York Mets 4. Top of the 9th inning.
Travel arranged through U.S. Air. With nearly 5,000 flights a day, U.S. Air is the airline that connects over 200 business centers nationwide.
Top of the 9th inning, the Cardinals coming up, and like those cereals you used to go to on Saturday afternoon at the movies, we will continue with the story by Rusty Staub.
Well, Mickey Mantle, after Canseco got the award for 40-40, got up to the mic and said, you know, if I thought everybody was going to get excited about that, I'd have done it a couple of times.
And he could have. One of the fastest runners that ever played the game of baseball, Mickey Mantle. Mantle holds a record for getting down to first.
He would have done it.
He holds a record for getting down to first. He got down to first in 3.3 seconds from the left-hand side of the plate. And there's a strike. Gerald Perry to lead it off. Perry 0 for 3 in today's game as a starting player. Last night he was a pinch hitter 0 for 1. Manzanillo on the mound, and there's a base hit for Perry as he leads off here in the 9th inning. Fastball drilled in the left field. Quickly over there is Otero, and he gets it in to stop Perry at first base. So a leadoff single here in the 9th inning for the Cardinals in this tie game.
Well, as we told you, Perry had been 0 for 3 pinch hitting. He was 0 for 3 in this game, so his first hit of the season comes at a very appropriate time for the Cardinals.
And that'll bring up Scott Cooper. Cooper 0 for 2. He also has walked and scored. And here comes Dallas Green out, and he's going to make a double switch as he confers with the home plate umpire, Cy Ryberg. Going into right field as Carl Everett comes out is Joe Orsulak. That will allow Dallas Green to put the pitcher in the right fielder's spot in the batting order. That would be the 5th batting position, and the new pitcher coming in. And this call of the bullpen is sponsored by MCI Long Distance. Tomorrow at 7:30, the Devils get set for the NHL playoffs when they battle the high-scoring Quebec Nordics. Live coverage begins at 7 o'clock with the pregame show, the Sports Authority Game Time. And it's the Devils and the Nordics tomorrow at 7:30 right here on Sports Channel. New pitcher in the game for the New York Mets.
There he is, the left-hander Eric Gunderson. Trying to kick himself a position to get that toe hold. His 3rd game. Hasn't given up anything yet.
And with a double switch, Joe Orsulak is in right field. So Gunderson in the game for the New York Mets. He has a record of no wins, no losses, and no saves, an earned run average of 0. He's worked 2 innings, has not given up a hit.
The left-hander coming in, that increases the chance of there being a bunt play with Cooper.
Gunderson Originally in the major leagues with San Francisco, he also pitched for Seattle. Last year he was with the Mets. He was in 14 games with an earned run average of 0.00. Pitching 9 innings, giving up no runs while allowing just 5 hits. Eric Gunderson.
John Mabry scheduled to hit next in the on-deck circle. As you see Butler giving Otero a few pointers. But you also have Brian Jordan in the Cardinal dugout grabbing a bat. Actually, he's out there to run for Perry.
So Perry's leadoff single necessitating the changes, and Scott Cooper is at the plate. And Cooper bunts it in the air. It is a foul ball. So Joe Torre using the sacrifice, hoping to move the base runner down to second. It goes as a foul ball.
Jordan can fly. You see his batting average, 194 and 94, only 3 home runs, 13 RBIs against left-handers.
One strike to count, Bonilla looking for another attempt. And that's ball 1. 1 ball and 1 strike.
Be careful. Make sure you don't move too quickly. Some of the infielders, as they could put the hit and run on.
Cooper without a base hit in this series, 0 for 6.
Galen Pitts down at third base for the Cardinals, giving all those signs.
And he swings away and fouls it off. So with Bonilla right on top of the batter, about 60 feet away, Cooper tries to drill it by him but fouls it off. With a 2-strike count, Bonilla drops back to a position even with a bag at third. And Gunderson fakes it going to first. Tie ball game at 4, top of the 9th inning. And it's in there, called strike 3. So Gunderson strikes out Scott Cooper as he complains to the umpire.
Check this pitch out. Side wheeling curveball. Tough pitch for the hitter. Gunderson might have got a little bit of a break there.
So the strikeout.
I know one thing, he couldn't reach it, could he, Ralph?
A little tough to reach.
He would not hit, wherever he was standing, he couldn't reach them.
Now we're going to have another pinch hitter. Darnell Coles to bat for John Mabry. Coles, a pinch hitter in last night's ball game, single to center field, and here comes Dallas Green. He's going to go to a right-hand pitcher.
So a little chess by the two managers here.
He has a right-hander in the bullpen.
He's trying to give him a couple of extra pitches down there. Unless he just wants to talk to Gunderson. We'll see the umpire now walking out to talk to Dallas Green.
Doug Henry, the thrower in the bullpen for the Mets, and now the decision has been made. And we're going to have a new pitcher in the ball game. So this call of the bullpen is sponsored by Nynex. Well, the Mets, after finishing off with the Cardinals here on Sunday, will have a day off on Monday. And then on Tuesday, it'll be the Montreal Expos in the Big O in Montreal, the home that Rusty Staub had built.
Hardly.
Game time show at 7 o'clock, and our ball game will start at 7:30.
Well, that attendance today, Ralph.
44,636 paid here today on Buck Day. And don't forget, tomorrow is Buck Day.
Baseball for a buck. How can you beat it? Don't forget, you also, the kids, will get a backpack from Tropicana. So this is a good weather weekend, good baseball weekend. Come on out to Shea.
Bargain Day at Shea here today and tomorrow. Doug Henry, the new pitcher for the Mets.
Yes, Henry, game number 3, an 0-0 record, no saves. He's not given up a earned run yet. 1 1/3 innings pitched, given up only 1 hit, no walks, no strikeouts. Doug Henry.
Last year with Milwaukee, Henry was 2-3 in 25 ball games with no saves. And he is a hard thrower, 6'4", 205 pounds. Born in Sacramento, California.
Now pitching for the Mets.
94, he opened the season on the DL. He had tendonitis of his right shoulder. He spent some rehab time at El Paso in the Texas League and New Orleans in the American Association. He paced the Brewers in saves for the 3rd straight year in 1993. And now with a job to do here. Go ahead run at first base, 1 out, top of the 9th inning. And that first pitch to Coles, the called strike.
Here's Galen Pitts. He replaced Bucky Dent.
Well, they made some changes all the way from the top to the bottom in that Cardinal organization as this fastball is fouled off, strike 2. Fired the general manager. Pitts, the third base coach, replacing Bucky Dent.
Joe Coleman was out, the pitching coach.
Two strikes to count. Jordan, the runner at first base, and it gets by Huntley, but Jordan, after going back to first, has enough time to go on down to second. So on the wild pitch, and I believe it will be scored that way, the Cardinals now have a runner in scoring position.
There's a look at it, down in the dirt, off to the side. He tried to get it, kind of squeegeed right through him.
When you reach over to backhand that ball, you're going to be in trouble every time. You got to get in front of it with the glove down, not up. And that one was close. First base umpire Frank Bellina said no swing. They count 2 balls, 2 strikes. Doug Henry, the 5th pitcher used by Dallas Green. Pete Harnish, a great 6 innings, 1 run on only 3 hits, struck out 7. And there's a strikeout, a big one, as Darnell Coles is called out and he complains. Joe Torre complains, but you got to face it. This is what you get. What you see is what you get. And you got to learn how to protect against any of this.
There it is. It's out over the plate. It's probably not a strike. With 2 strikes, you got to step up
Number
quickly.
19,
Just got to do it,
Pagnazzi.
especially in the clutch.
You know,
Either that or you can't cover.
What's so hard to figure out is that the players don't understand what's going on. You've got to know how to hit against any kind of umpire.
I told Fran early in the game, we need that plank, Ralph. You need the plank.
I mean, it's going on, so you gotta live with it. And the first pitch is ball 1. Tom Pagnazzi, who drove in a run with a sac fly his last time up, and the count ball 1. 4-4 ball game. A runner at second base. 2 men out. There's one swung on and missed. 1 ball and 1 strike. Top of the 9th inning. And Doug Henry tries again. Strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes, and again the batter complains.
Well, that is not a strike probably, but Pagnazzi, who's behind the plate all the time, and we talked to Hundley before the game, you see it all the time. You're receiving the ball, you know that that it's a wide plate. Now you got 2 strikes. Now you really got to protect the plate.
Crowd here cheering for a strikeout. Over 40,000. The 1-2 pitch, and a good breaking ball. This time Pagnazzi has to swing at it and does, and fouls it off. He fouled off a tough pitch. That's what you got to do.
Orsulak came in about 3 or 4 strides that time. He likes to play deep in the outfield. He's not really comfortable playing in, but this is one of those periods where the pitch is way ahead of the count and they're giving so much on the outside. You'd hate to see a flare fall in front of you.
One ball, 2 strikes. The pressure on. Tie ball game at 4, top of the 9th inning. The runner in scoring position. Fastball and strike 3 call. So Doug Henry pitches out of the jam. And again, a complaint by Pagnazzi. Joe Torre wants to keep him in the ball game. He's taking him away from the umpire. And we go to the bottom of the 9th inning. The score, the Mets 4, the Cardinals 4.
Mets baseball is brought to you in part by your Tri-State GMC truck dealer and by Met Life. Get Met. It pays.
Brian Jordan, who came in the game as a pinch runner, takes over in right field. New first baseman in the ball game, Darnell Coles. He was a pinch hitter in the inning, and a new pitcher in the game for the St. Louis Cardinals. And the first pitch by Rene Arocha, a curveball for strike 1. Arocha in yesterday's ball game was clobbered by the Mets in 1 inning. He gave up 3 runs on 3 hits. And the batter for the Mets, Rico Bronya, takes for a ball. Bronya with a single and a double and 3 at bats. Arocha from Cuba. Tie ball game at 4, bottom of the 9th inning. Another thriller for the New York Mets. Bronya now hitting .400 with 2 home runs, 4 runs batted in. And the split finger fastball outside for ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike.
One thing, Ralph, every game this year is right down to the wire, isn't it?
Been a thriller. Rocha homered, gave up a home run to Bronya in yesterday's ball game. And that pitch fouled off. Rocha facing Bronya as his first batter yesterday. Gave up a home run to Bronya over the center field fence. Bonilla doubled. He hit the next batter, Jeff Kent. Walked the next batter intentionally after a sacrifice. Huntley got him for a double to drive in 2. So
wasn't a good day.
Had a tough night. Two balls, 2 strikes. Top of the 9th inning. Gone by, and now in the bottom half for the Mets.
Fans yelling, "Go deep."
Bronya has gone deep twice this year. Both of his home runs over the center field fence. A late swing and a miss, and Arocha gets a measure of a comeback pleasure. striking out Bronya as he leads off here in the 9th inning.
Number 6.
Good off-speed pitch by Orsulak.
That'll bring up Joe Orsulak, batting for the first time. Orsulak in the ball game in a double switch. He hits a ground ball to the second base side. Oquendo, the second baseman, picks up the assist on the throw to first base. That'll bring up Todd Hundley.
Well, Ralph, we did it opening night. We came close to doing it the second night. Yesterday was exciting in itself. These extra innings, they're right here, aren't they?
They are facing us again as the Mets went 14 innings opening day and played a game that took 4 hours 47 minutes against the Colorado Rockies. Mainly necessitated because Todd Hundley hit a grand slam home run in that first game to tie it at 5. So Hundley batting .357, the batter, and this ball hit deep to right field. If it stays fair, it might be gone. The wind, though, holding it up on the warning track. So Hundley a bid, but it was turned away as Jordan makes a catch in right field, and we go to extra innings. After 9 here at Shea Stadium, it's the Cardinals 4, the New York Mets 4. Well, Todd Hundley thought he might have another home run that would have won the ball game as he made the last out in the 9th inning. So did a lot of other people.
Well, let's check it. The dugout has emptied, and their hearts are broken.
So we go to extra innings, and coming in for the play-by-play, Rusty Staub, who has won many a ball game with a home run in the 9th inning.
Well, thank God I snuck a couple in, Ralph. Jose Oquendo will lead it off. He takes ball 1. Doug Henry thought he might have a victory in his back pocket when that ball left the bat of Todd Hundley. Ball 2 on a close pitch. Tomorrow, Tom Urbani against Bobby Jones. There's a strike. Taking all the way was Oquendo. Mets in on the corners, guarding the line. Fouled off straight back. Count goes to 2-2. As Ralph said earlier, Pete Harnisch did a fine job. Put up only 1 run through 6 innings. Gary DePoto had a rough inning in the 7th, and the Cards scored 3 and they tied it up. That's where we've been since the top of the 7th, 4-4. Speed and pitch a little bit high. We go to a full count. Ground ball hard and just foul. Bronya, who was guarding the line, could have snagged that one. It would have been about 12 feet in foul territory.
3-1 fastball. Oquendo looking for it, pulls it foul.
We've already had 2 balls this year hit the first base bag. It's a rarity. In the first 4 games of the season, it's happened twice. This time, Oquendo just stays alive. I tell you, with that open stance, he's one of the guys that does not really step into the ball, but he pulls his hands back and he slashes. That's why he's a good opposite field hitter. Again, getting a piece of it. Butler in his own way hits similar to that, especially with 2 strikes. Lots of hands and arms, not a lot of body. Again, just staying alive. Jose Oquendo. There's the Oz, the Wizard of Oz, Ozzie Smith. A great bunter.
40 years of age.
Fly ball, center field. Butler's there. He's actually in left center, but the way they play Akindo, that's center. One down. So here comes Ozzie Smith.
Pitch hitting for St. Louis, number 1, Ozzie Smith.
So Smith will hit for Arocha. We'll see, he's 3 for 12 on the season.
1 for 3 in the opening game of this series against the Mets. He is the second player since 1950, the second shortstop to play shortstop on opening day. Since 1950, only one other opening day shortstop, Luke Appling, who played shortstop at the age of 41 on opening day.
Yeah.
You know, Appling was known as old folks even before he was 41. One of the greatest athletes to ever play the game of baseball, Hall of Famer Luke Appling.
Ball down in the dirt. Ozzie had to jump over it. 2 balls, 1 strike. We're in the top of the 10th, extra innings again for the New York Mets. 4 runs on 7 hits for the Cards, 4 runs on 8 hits for the Mets. The Mets have committed 1 error in this game. 2 balls and a strike to Oz. They get 2-2.
Luke Appling, at the age of 75, in a old-timers game in Washington, D.C.
Somebody used to call it a Cracker Jack game, right?
Cracker Jack game, hit a home run over the left field fence at the age of 75.
It was an exciting hit. Fouled off, out of play. That got a lot of play on television.
Just to be up there at 75, just to get
ready to say, to be able to hit it, much less hit it out of the ball. I know it's a short left field fence, but he hit it. Ozzie hits that one. Just taps it. Stays alive again. So both Akindo and Smith working hard against Doug Henry.
Two great ball players for the Chicago White Sox, Luke Appling and Ted Lyons. Ted Lyons, a great pitcher.
Yep. Huntley setting up inside. He wants it inside. There it is. It jams Ozzie. Kemp, little double clutch, but he's got him. 2 down. That'll bring up Bernard Gilkey. Gilkey so far struck out, flying to center, got on an error, and flying to center a second time. Both bullpens are active. Strike call. Down and away. Right there, but just out of the strike zone. 1 ball and 1 strike. This time it is on the strike zone. 1-2. Well, Huntley just staying right out there. Henry likes to work quick, doesn't he? Just give me the ball. I'm going to bring it to you. Coming inside. They jam him a little bit, but he gets the bat head out enough. And that's a base hit for Gilkey. That's good
Number
hitting.
7.
You have to be looking outside after all those pitches. They came in, but he popped that belly button and got enough of it to drive the ball to left field for a single. 2 down, and Gilkey at first. Gilkey 4 stolen bases last year. There he goes. The throw from Hundley. It's quick. It's in there, and he's out. So Hundley, good quick release, and Gilkey is caught stealing to end the top of the 10th inning. After 9.5, you're looking at it. 4-4. What a throw. 4-4, bottom of the 10th inning. Mets will try to win it here. A new pitcher on the mound, Ralph.
Vicente Palacios, the new pitcher for the Cardinals. Mets have seen him. He worked 2 innings in last night's ball game. Gave up no runs, allowed 3 base hits. And he'll be working to Ricky Otero.
So Otero, who is very used to being a leadoff hitter, will lead off the 10th. Weighing at third is Cooper. Darnell Cole's in at first. Ball 1. New pitcher. We'll see if Otero makes him throw a strike. I like this young man's moves. He does. There's a strike. That's a good leadoff hitter.
Jumping from Double-A ball, the Eastern League to the major leagues. Got a base hit his first at bat in the major leagues. That was in Colorado.
They're looking down and away. It's there, and they get the call. One ball, 2 strikes. They're going to stay outside. And they get the call again. So an opening strikeout in the bottom of the 10th inning. Give Palacios credit. He put it right back in the zone. That's the 9th Met to be struck out today by Cardinal pitching. Brett Butler, who has a couple of hits and a couple of strikeouts. Very rare. Again, big strike zones. Both of them have been taking. There he's sitting on that outside corner. Another strike. I know it's frustrating for the hitters, and Butler saying that's not a strike, but it will be today. Was Butler unhappy, having been called out twice today? Way outside again. Strike again.
Palacios has hit every spot perfectly since he came in this game. He's made some perfect pitches.
Right there. Now, will he outsmart himself and try to come in on Butler, or will he stay out there? That's the question. Let's see what Pagnazzi says. He wants it out there again. Stay right out there. Ground ball right back to the pitcher. Over to Darnell Coles, 2 down.
There was another pitch that was right on the outside
Number
corner.
15, Jose Vizcaino.
Get a longer bat. Do something. Can't keep taking those pitches though. 2 down and Vizcaino at the plate. Pitch is low. Ball 1.
Most players use a 35-inch bat, the longest bat ever used in baseball, and it's the longest you can use. 42 inches by Al Simmons, who was one of the greatest right-hand batters of all time.
He must have stayed pretty far away from home plate.
He was a bucket hitter, right-hand batter. He stepped almost in the dugout when he would swing, and he could hit it to right center field as well as anybody alive.
As a right-handed hitter.
Yeah.
There's a strike. 2-0.
The great all-time batting averages. I think he's second to Rogers Hornsby for lifetime batting average.
Ball hit firmly to center. Langford going back. He's got room. 3 up, 3 down for the Mets in the bottom of the 10th inning. We're in extra innings and we're going forward. 4-4. Cards and the Mets. We got a new pitcher in the ball game and a new shortstop. Malicki on the mound, Bogar at short. And to try to get this 11th inning going, Ralph Kiner.
Okay. Dave Malicki was scheduled to be the starting pitcher in tomorrow's game, but because of the fact that Bobby Jones did not work that much when he pitched opening day in Colorado, Jones has been scheduled to pitch tomorrow, and Malicki is being brought in here as a relief pitcher. So Malicki is ready as far as his condition is concerned. He'll be working to the Cardinals here in the top of the 11th inning. Tripp Cromer will be the leadoff batter. Tripp, the shortstop, 1 for 4 in today's ball game. Malicki, the 6th pitcher used by Dallas Green, and the fastball foul back out of play. In the opening day game that went 14 innings in Colorado, Dallas Green used 7 pitchers. Malicki, born in Cleveland, Ohio, now lives in Phoenix, Arizona. Pitched for the Cleveland Indians and was in the Jeremy Burnitz trade. Last year at Charlotte, he was 6-10 in 28 game starts, no appearances in relief. This is his first relief appearance since 1991. Ground ball to Bonilla, the 3rd baseman. And Cromer thrown out by Bonilla as Brogna takes the throw at first base. That will bring up Ray Langford.
Number 16, Ray Langford.
Ray 3 for 4. A double, a single, and a double. Also called out on strikes. The runs are even, the hits are even. The errors, the Mets have made 1, the Cardinals none. Check swing, foul ball, and strike 1. Shadows extending out to about 1/3 of the way to the pitcher's mound, an advantage for the pitcher. Good breaking ball. A little tough on the hitter with the shadows like that, coming out of that bright sunlight into that darkened area. Reminds you of what takes place in the fall. 2 strikes. Langford in this series with 5 base hits in the first 2 games. Did he swing? Yes, he did. He went too far. The tag is made to complete the strikeout. And Malicki has 2 men away here in the 11th inning.
Well, Langford had 3 hits in a row, but the last 2 times the Mets have struck him out. This is good. Watch the bottom fall out of this ball. He just could not check his swing.
That will bring up Brian Jordan for the first time. Jordan, a dangerous hitter. And now it's going to be Alan Battle at the plate. Alan Battle will be the hitter. Jordan was injured in a collision at home plate in yesterday's ball game. He went in as a pinch runner, but he is not going to be hitting. So Alan Battle will be the batter.
He hurt his wrist, I think, Ralph, and that's the reason why he's not playing today. So he can't really swing the bat well.
Battle has yet to have a base hit this year. Good curveball, but breaking out of the strike zone. Good movement on that curve. Fastball for ball 2. 2 balls and 1 strike.
wonder if Healy was behind the plate on that.
Fly ball popped up in foul territory. Back into the stands, out of play. Battle last year at Louisville hit .313 with 6 home runs, 69 runs batted in 132 games. Three balls, 2 strikes. Battle was selected in the 10th round of the June 1991 free agent draft by the Cardinals. Fouls it back. Battle at Louisville last year set a club record for hits, 163, and doubles. He had 44 doubles. Struck him out. So Malicki with a 1-2-3 inning and 2 strikeouts, and we go to the bottom half of the 11th inning. It's the Cardinals 4, the New York Mets 4. Well, we're going now to the Met half of the 11th inning. Met pitchers in this ball game have struck out 15 Cardinal batters. Pete Arnish with 6 strikeouts, Jerry DiPoto with 2 strikeouts, Manzanillo with 2 strikeouts, Gunderson with 1, Henry with 1, make that 2, and Malicki now with 2 in 1 inning. It'll be Jeff Kent to lead it off. Battles has stayed in the ball game after striking out. And the first pitch, ball 1. Vicente Palacios on the mound for the Cardinals, his 2nd inning. Two balls, no strikes.
The 24 batters have taken that long walk back to the dugout. 9 for the Cards. They have also been striking out some Mets.
2-0 the count. Ground ball to third, fielded by Cooper. And Darnell Coles takes the throw for the out. So Kent 0 for 5 as he grounds out to third, leading off here in the 11th inning. That'll bring up Bobby Bonilla, who is 0 for 4. Bonilla started the game hitting .462. He is now at .353. Good fastball to call strike.
Looked like Pagnazzi wanted him to come in, and Palacios said no way, and he went back outside. Doesn't want to take a chance on making a bad pitch inside. It could cost him the game.
And that time they went back outside, so the fastball to call strike, 1 ball and 2 strikes.
He's got to stay out there. They keep giving it to him. Nobody seems to be making the adjustment. Bonilla likes to go into the ball.
And again he goes outside. This time it's ball 2. 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And as much as that looked way outside, that was close.
Was close.
Oof.
Another close one. Ball 3. 3 balls and 2 strikes the count. Tomorrow game time at 1:40. Bobby Jones for the Mets against Tom Urbani. Closing out the 3-game series. This is the only appearance of the Cardinals here at Shea Stadium this year. Fouled it. Count stays at 3-2. Cardinals' only appearance this year here at Shea. Schedule shortened to 144 games. Joe Torre, born in Brooklyn, Managed the New York Mets, the manager of the St. Louis Cardinals. Ball 4. So Bonilla works out a walk, and the Mets have the winning runner at first base with one man out.
Really hasn't been many walks in this game. That's the second for the Cards. Mets only walked one.
And Tim Bogar will be the batter. Tim batting for the first time. Looking for his first hit of the season. And Bonilla draws the throw. After Tim Bogar, Rico Brogna. Rico 2 for 4 in the game. And the breaking ball for ball 1. The Cubs won their ball game against Montreal 5-4. Game just completed. Cubs have yet to lose this year.
That was a long 9th inning, though. That number 9 was up there for a long time. Montreal scored in the 9th, but the Cubs, probably Myers, held them off.
Cubs 4-0.
Eddie Lynch off to a good start. General manager of the Cubs.
Bogar showing bunt. There's one man out. You have to believe he was decoying the bunt to take the pitch. Bobby Wine sending the signs out to Mike Cubbage, the third base coach. Those signs are originally given by Dallas Green, standing next to Bobby Wine.
Hit and run situation for Dallas Green.
There it is. Hit and run play up the middle, and it'll be a base hit. Vanille will go over to third, and the Mets will have the winning run at third base with one man out. So the hit and run sets it up as Bogar gets his first hit of the year, and the Mets in a position to win this one.
I like it. He sends Bonilla. Throws over the plate. You see the dive by Comer. Just like that, men on first and third. Cardinal outfield's playing too deep. They're going to
walk him.
Brogna, but they got to come in.
They'll come in. The batter behind Brogna is Joe Orsulak. So the walk will set up a force play at any base, including home, and or a double play. But the Mets with a winning run at third with one man out. We're in the bottom half of the 11th inning. So the walk to Brogna will bring up Joe Orsulak, who has hit once in this game, and he has grounded out. And here comes Joe Torre to talk to Vicente Palacios.
Not much you can tell him right here other than try to get a ground ball. If it comes back to you, throw it to the plate. The outfield has to come way in. Again, we said this the other night. The outfield has to put themselves in a position if they get a line drive hit right at them, they can throw the runner out at the plate.
Anything else? Let it go. You can't throw them out after you catch it if you're in a deep position in the outfield.
Bob Gibson going crazy at the dugout trying to call everybody. Jose Cardinal anyway. Cole and his outfield is way in. They won't come in enough. I mean, I don't understand.
If you don't know that, you don't know anything about baseball.
They're still deep and left.
Left fielder Gilkey still pretty deep as Orsulak swings and misses, strike one. Infield in for a play at the plate. Outfield in for a play at the plate. Palacios working from the set position, and that one called a strike, and that was a tough call. So it's strike two.
We've been calling that pitch all day, though. That's the same place that he's been calling that fastball away.
Palacios with a two-strike count. And it's a big one for the New York Mets as the Mets win Orsulak drives in the winning run in the bottom of the 11th inning, and the Mets win it 5-4. Orsulak, as Palacios with the 2-strike count came right back down the middle with a fastball, and that was all she wrote.
Well, a couple years ago, they said baseball like it ought to be. This is the way baseball ought to be. 4 games the Mets have played, and every one of them is down to the wire. Another tremendous finish by the New York Mets, and both home victories coming in their last at bat. What a game.
So the Mets win it by a score of 5-4. They have won the first 2 games of this 3-game series, and now we go back to Bob Papa.